was sure he was going to pick West Virginia just so he could shoot Davy Crockett's gun. Welcome to ESPN College Football presented by Cars.com from High Point Solutions Stadium here in Piscataway. It's Wisconsin and Rutgers. And the Badgers control their own destiny in the Big Ten West. 5-2 overall, 2-1 in conference play, and they still have Nebraska and Minnesota on the schedule, and both those games are in Madison. Here in New Jersey today, it is cold, rainy, temperature right now 41, winds around 20 miles an hour. It's been raining for the last 4 hours. And that guy on the left saying, I could have sat home and watched this on ESPN.
They look like they're hungover from too much Halloween candy last night.
Rutgers won the toss and deferred, so the Scarlet Knights will kick it off. And we'll get a look momentarily at one of the best players in all of college football, running back Melvin Gordon. Badgers have won 2 in a row after stumbling at Northwestern. Remember, they started the year almost knocking off LSU. They led that game by 17, ended up falling to the Tigers. That not only hurt the Badgers, it hurt the perception of the Big Ten. And New Jersey native Corey Clement back to return the kickoff from Kyle Federico to start the game. Denzel Doe is also deep. A short kick. It'll be taken by Doe at the 4-yard line. And a great return here out near the 40-yard line. Good starting field position for Wisconsin. Dave Pasch, Brian Griese, Tom Luganville with us as well. And Brian, in talking with the Wisconsin coaches yesterday, they feel like offensively they're in the best position they've been all year. So you get the sense the Badgers are still really a contender to win the Big Ten.
I think they're getting better. We always knew that they could run the football. They averaged 330 yards a game on the ground. That's second in all of college football. But the biggest difference now is Joel Stave back in the lineup for the last 2 weeks. And the passing game is beginning to come around. I think that's when Wisconsin is good on the offensive side. Obviously, they run the ball, but they have play action and can take those shots down the field.
Stave starting for the 3rd straight game. A really interesting story. More on him later. Good D by Rutgers on the opening play as Melvin Gordon, who doesn't usually have negative plays, is dropped for a loss by Lorenzo Waters. That's a 2-yard setback.
We were talking with Rutgers coaches last night. They said the biggest key in slowing down Melvin Gordon, you're not going to stop him, but just to slow him down, is to get penetration in the backfield so that he's not hitting his hole and able to read those blocks up front. Kyle Flood likes what he saw in that first play, getting guys in the backfield.
Rutgers stacking the box. Most teams do against the Badgers. Here's Gordon, and he goes down again. Got back to the line of scrimmage this time. Darius Hamilton drove him to the ground. Let's look at our impact players, brought to you by Jared, the Galleria of Jewelry.
Well, we've seen back-to-back plays in the backfield. Steve Longa, the linebacker for Rutgers, he needs to be on his P's and Q's, tracking Melvin Gordon most of the day. Then Rob Havenstein and Derek Watt, 2 big keys in the running game for Wisconsin. Havenstein may be one of the best offensive tackles in all of college football.
36th consecutive start for Havenstein. Good job on the pronunciation. You did it twice, which was even more impressive. Oh, jump pass by Stave in the pocket, complete but short of the first down. So the Badgers are going to have to punt. Jordan Frederick on the catch. 3 and out forced by Rutgers defense. Remember, Wisconsin is coming off a game in which it scored 52 points against Maryland. It was never stopped the entire game. When they punted, they fake punted, and it was Drew Meyer throwing a pass on a fake punt, but it's Bart Houston in there to kick here for Wisconsin. And the deep man is Janarian Grant, who was suspended for the first half of last week's game. A slow roller out of bounds around the 27-yard line. It's been an interesting week for Rutgers in terms of injuries. Started last week with Gary Nova getting hurt at the end of the first half. He did not return. And then today, Leonte Carew, Nova's favorite target, slips and injures his knee in pregame warmup. He went back to the locker room and did not return until he came out in full pads just before the game. And both guys are starting. Nova was on crutches Sunday and Monday, but here he is making his 37th career start. They're going to run it on 1st and 10 to Justin Goodwin, and he gets nothing. Wisconsin holds up against the run on 1st and 10.
You know, Dave, that was a wicked hit that Nova took in the game last week against Nebraska. His knee came down hard on the turf, and you know, with the conditions the way they are, when it's wet and you have an injury like that, especially to your lower body, sometimes it's very difficult to play because you're not sure of your footing. But Gary Nova is a tough customer. He's been in this program, been the heart of this program really for the last 3 years, and it's not surprising he's going to tough it out today.
He's a 2-year captain. Another run play on 2nd down, and this time a big hole out near the 1st down marker for Justin Goodwin. Michael Caputo, the leading tackler, on the stop, but it's a gain of about 8.
And you're going to see 3 backs today for Rutgers. You're going to see Goodwin, who's 6 feet, 200 pounds. You'll see Desmond Peoples, who's a change of pace back, a little bit smaller, 175 pounds. And you'll see the true freshman, Robert Martin. All 3 of them bring a different element to this Rutgers offense, which is really predicated on starting up front, being physical with this offensive line and running the football.
They've been averaging less than 4 yards per carry the last 3 games, but a pass play in 3rd and short. Nova able to find an open man for a 1st down to the 40-yard line. Andrew Terzilli on the catch.
It's a little bit different concept on a bootleg here. You run the halfback in the flat. We were talking with Dave Aranda, the Wisconsin defensive coordinator, last night. There's a couple of things that Rutgers does offensively, and Ralph Friedgen, their offensive coordinator, still one of the best minds in all of college football on the offensive side. And I know Dave Aranda's got a lot of respect for how Ralph Friedgen puts this offense together. And with Nova at quarterback, he's got the entire offense at his disposal.
Good play by Nova to find Agadosi, who made the catch. Back to the ground game. Goodwin dragged down by Schobert at the point of attack. So a minimal gain there for the Scarlet Knights. Dave Aranda's 2nd year as the defensive coordinator. Wisconsin, a Big Ten leader and a lot of stats, and up there nationally in total defense, points allowed, and pass defense.
And some people would say, well, they haven't played the toughest of competition. Even in conference, they played Northwestern, Illinois, Maryland, and now Rutgers. But this is a defense that I think is going to continue to get better as the season goes on, and resembles much more of what Gary Anderson and Dave Aranda want to do on the defensive side.
Short set for Nova, and boy, the receiver didn't get his head around Leonte Carew, and that pass was off target. Nova saying, that's on you, my man.
Yeah, well, you gotta be on the same page and communicate. This ball's thrown right where Gary Nova wanted it. You got to look for that football, and no reason at home in these kind of conditions not to be on the same page. If he catches that football, it looked like the safety took the wrong angle, and Carew may have had a big play.
He is a big play guy, number 2 in the Big Ten in receiving yards. He has 6 touchdowns. He also blocked a punt. It's a rising star in the Big Ten that not a lot of people know about. So 3rd down and 9, play clock down at 2. Nova going to fire deep, going for Carew, but he overshot him. Double coverage at the 25-yard line. So it's 4th down, and Rutgers will punt.
Well, they had the matchup they wanted. They picked up the blitz on the inside, and that ball just overshot. You gotta think in these kind of conditions that the passing game is going to be difficult, especially when you try to throw that ball down the field. Typically, when you have control over that ball when it's dry, it's not going to be the same when it's wet outside.
Gleason will punt. Kenzel Doe is the deep man here. Doe saying, get out of the way. It is loose on the goal line, but the ball crosses the plane, so it is a touchback. Took a awkward bounce, and unfortunately for Rutgers, the Knights weren't able to down it. It will come out to the 20 for the Badgers. Welcome back to ESPN College Football, presented by Cars.com.
You know, I go back to last week, Dave. Joel Stave started the game against Maryland. They won 52-7. We were talking with Gary Anderson, the head coach. He felt like this play here was a big play in the resurgence of Joel Stave. You know, his confidence was so down after being benched to start the season. They went with Tanner McAvoy in the LSU game. Joel Stave took it hard, and his confidence went south. And so much so that he had a hard time throwing the ball in practice. But it's been a little bit at a time, week after week, that Joel Stave has gotten better and better. He was on the scout team for a while, and now he's back playing for the Badgers, and Gary Anderson's real proud of him.
Movement by the tight end, Sam Arneson. So, ball start, 1st and 15.
Ball start, offense, number 49. 5-yard penalty, remains first down.
We don't see that very often as a quarterback. You know, I think we saw it a little bit. Remember Chuck Knobloch, the baseball player, really struggled with confidence and throwing the ball. And Steve Sachs. And so for a player to come back from that, because when you're on the field and you're practicing and all your teammates see that you're really struggling, that it's mental, it's hard to come back from. I give Joel Stave all the credit in the world for taking those steps, those baby steps, to get back to a point where he can get back on the field and be productive.
And he was the one that inserted himself into the quarterback spot on the scout team to try to show his head coach that he was ready. Gordon is tripped up, minimal gain. Bring in Tom Luganville, the 3rd member of our crew.
Well, guys, out here, as you referenced, with Joel Stave and Tanner McAvoy, you know, Wisconsin is an identity program, and instead of trying to build the entire offense around Tanner McAvoy's ability to run the football, having Joel Stave back in there for the run game, for the drop back passing game, and then having a package for Tanner McAvoy, it still forces the defense to have to defend the quarterback run, and they've communicated very well with both quarterbacks how they'll be utilized each and every week.
2nd down and 14. Another penalty marker down. Gordon trying to get outside and get positive yardage. Runs out of the 20. You know, the other interesting factor with Tanner McAvoy is he almost has to play because Wisconsin doesn't have a lot of explosive players. You know, last year they had Jared Abbrederis. So the change of pace that McAvoy provides in the run game, it's another guy outside of Gordon and Clement that can get a big play. Offside was a call on Rutgers.
Yeah, I mean, I think at the end of the day, on the offensive
Offside.
side,
Defense, number 93. 5-yard penalty, replay 2nd down.
on the offensive side, you want to have balance, right? And Gary Anderson loved the fact when he was at Utah State and Chucky Keaton that he had balance because the quarterback was mobile. But you can also just have balance running the football and throwing it downfield too. And I think what he's found is that Tanner McAvoy didn't create the kind of balance on offense that was going to give him enough success. The game against Northwestern, they only scored 14 points. You put Stave back in there and you open up the field a little bit more.
Stave on 2nd down and 9 into traffic, and it's broken up incomplete. Longo with a big hit on the intended receiver, Alex Erickson. So it's 3rd down and 9.
We talked about Longo being one of those impact players for Rutgers. He's a leader on that team. 21 starts coming into this game, and reading the eyes of the quarterback. Come over, get a clean hit on a wide receiver, especially wide receivers when they run across the middle of the field. Guys like Longo from the linebacker position can make him feel it.
Longo, sophomore, had 123 tackles last year. He's on pace for that mark again. Rutgers defense has been solid so far through the first 6 minutes, and the play clock down to 1. Wisconsin's going to have to burn a timeout here.
Timeout. Wisconsin, teams first.
Wisconsin with negative rushing yards. They've got another 3rd down and long situation, and they've just had to burn a timeout. Not a good start offensively for UW.
You got to think about it, these things in these 3rd down situations. If Rutgers can continue to put Wisconsin in these kinds of situations, then they can dial up some of the creative pressures. We've already seen it early in this game, and that's a big win for Rutgers to put the game in Joel Stave's hands and out of the hands of their running backs, Clement and Melvin Gordon.
Let me ask you this question to kind of finish the Stave-McAvoy dynamic. I know you're not a fan of 2 quarterbacks. Most guys aren't. But in this situation, given what we know about Stave and how he struggled, do you think it's okay? You think they can win this way? Or at some point this year to win the Big Ten, do they have to pick one guy?
I don't think they have to pick one guy, and I don't think that this is the traditional 2-quarterback system. I think what's different about this between Andy Ludwig, the offensive coordinator, and Gary Anderson is they have communicated to Joel Stavey and Tanner McAvoy that, look, Stavey's going to be the starter, and there's going to be a package for McAvoy. It's totally dissimilar to having a wildcat quarterback that comes in from time to time. The thing I like about what Wisconsin and these coaches have done is they have protected the egos of both of these guys, because both of them this year have been benched, and that can go south on a quarterback really fast. They're communicating exactly what's going to happen in the course of the game, so their confidence isn't shot.
3rd down and 9 on the Badger 21. Here's a blitz off the edge. It's picked up, and Stavey's pass is incomplete. Tried to hit Rob Wheelwright, and it's 4th down. Another punt.
Great pressure here from Rutgers defensively. They bring 2 secondary players. Jonathan Aikens going to come off the edge on the left side of your screen. Aikens coming off the edge, as well as a corner Glashan. It's picked up, but again, a wet football. That was an opportunity there. If you get that ball out in front of the receiver in an accurate fashion, could get a 1st down.
Got Houston punting again. Drew Myers, the normal punter. And it's a low liner that is a free ball, but Grant able to fall on it at the 46-yard line. Perhaps with the rain, they're more comfortable with Houston punting, but they may
not pretty.
They may rethink that one.
Welcome back to the Piscataway tie ball game. So far, the surprise has been Rutgers defensively stopping this rushing attack of Wisconsin. They came into the game averaging over 330 yards on the ground in the first 2 possessions. They have gotten after this offensive line. They're stunting and moving up front with their defensive linemen. A little bit of confusion from Wisconsin up front on the offensive line. Give credit to Rutgers, but as we know, this is a team that will continue to pound it on the ground, and they'll make adjustments on the sideline as well.
Melvin Gordon, though, averages close to 8 yards a carry and got -1 yard on the ground. 2nd possession for Rutgers, and play fake for Nova. In trouble. Nova throws incomplete as he was getting twirled around by Chikwe Obashi, who has a 1.5 sacks this year. But it's incomplete.
I thought that should have made it been an intentional grounding. Let me run it here, guys. Let's see if Gary Nova gets outside the pocket.
Don't you think there was a receiver in the area?
No, there was nobody in the area. He's definitely in the pocket, and there was nobody in the middle of the field. Take a look at here. Throws his ball downfield. Well, there's a running back, but
he wasn't trying to hit him, is what you're saying. He was trying to throw it over his head. Throw it away. Here's Peoples drilled by Darius Hillary for a loss at the 40. That's a 5-yard setback, and another 3rd down and long.
Darius Hillary is a corner. He's right here on the end of line of scrimmage. And this is a bust up front. Looks like either the tight end or the fullback needs to block out on Hillary. That's a busted assignment. Leads to a negative play.
We have a grand total of 15 yards of total offense between the 2 teams here in the first 7 minutes. And a 3rd and 15 for Nova. Has time, and his pass is nearly intercepted by Schobert, who jumped in front of the pass intended for John Simmis. So another punt.
Boy, you know, Rutgers has gotten 2 stops, 2 3-and-outs on defense, and their offense has done nothing with these opportunities. Even if this ball is complete, it's going to be short of a 1st down. Lucky it wasn't intercepted there by Trotter, but Rutgers can't afford to not take advantage of the way their defense is playing at the beginning of this game.
Gleason will punt it to Doe. Last one ended up in the end zone for a touchback. Good kick, and the fair catch made at the 13-yard line. Another possession for Joel Stavey and the Badger offense.
ESPN College Football is presented by Cars.com. All drive, no drama. And in part by Chevrolet. Find new roads.
One of the great traditions here at Rutgers, the annual homecoming bed race.
Oh, look at the mystery machine.
Yeah, the Scooby-Doo bed took first prize, by the way. Prize is awarded for the fastest team, best team costumes, and best decorated bed.
Did you do any bed racing at Syracuse?
No comment. Corey Clement, who is from Glassboro, New Jersey, is in the ball game at tailback. He's on pace for a 1,000-yard season. Melvin Gordon on pace for 2,000 yards. And it's an end around to true freshman George rushing. But that's well played. Minimal gain as Barnwell makes the tackle. Here's Reese Davis now in the studio.
Dave, good morning. Time for a Dr. Pepper conference update. And I guess it's good afternoon, depending on where you are. Where we are is in Iowa City with Mark Weisman scoring a touchdown for the 6th straight game. And as I look up at the monitor, he just scored again. It's his 5th straight game with 2 rushing touchdowns, 16-0 extra point pending against Northwestern.
A lot of Big Ten games here early on this first Saturday in November. Wisconsin 5-2, 2-1 in conference play, tied for 3rd in the West. Rutgers 4th in the East at 1-3, 5-3 overall. Got another penalty here.
Delay a game. Offense. 5-yard penalty. Remains 2nd down.
So they got a false start. Now a delay a game.
You know, one of the things when you're not out there playing quarterback, you're on the field, the little things, you know, you got to get back in the rhythm of looking at the play clock. Every single time you break the huddle as a quarterback, the first thing you look at is the play clock. Then you get into the orchestration of motions and shifts and checks and all those kinds of. As a quarterback, you have to have that ingrained in your head. And right now, Joel Stavy is struggling just to get the basics done.
2nd down and 15. Clement. And again, Rutgers front 4 getting off blocks. Darius Hamilton on the tackle. When you come out and play a road game, you come out in warm-ups and find where the play clocks are?
Absolutely. There is no question. I mean, that's, you know, and a lot of times as a quarterback coach, you'll come out with your quarterbacks and you'll go through that. Okay, is there a crown on the field? What's the dynamic? Where's the play clock? If you have issues, you know, you got to make sure you always know. You see they're up there usually above the goalposts. Some stadiums are different. It's hard to find them, but in this stadium, they are right in front of you. Not hard to see.
3rd and 10. It's been 3rd and long this entire first quarter for the Badgers. Stavy with time. Incomplete. Tried to hit Arneson. Pass was high. And so it's 4th down. Another punt.
Yeah, great job by Longa, the linebacker. Just got a finger on this ball. Number 3, you see him up there. He's bluffing. He's going to blitz, and then he gets back to his depth. Just gets a finger on it, maybe. If this ball is thrown out in front, it's an easy conversion. But again, the accuracy is the thing that really Joel Stavy has struggled to get back, and that one's a little off target.
Houston punting for the 3rd time. Another line drive. Here's Grant. And he's wrapped up and brought down right at midfield. Monday night on ESPN, it's the Colts and Giants. Andrew Luck squaring off against Eli Manning. No other night is Monday night. Andrew Luck quickly becoming one of the best QBs in all of the NFL. Homecoming, as we mentioned, with the bed race, and Rutgers hoping to get to 6 wins. This is the 4th straight year that the Scarlet Knights have started 4-1 or better. In the last 3 years, they didn't play well down the stretch. A couple of years ago, they were 7-0 and didn't play well the last half of the season. Now, that's because the competition gets better, and even more so this year, being their first year in the Big Ten. They were in the American last year, the Big East 2 years ago. Play action here. Nova slips and falls. It's incomplete. And again, Nova battling that right knee injury, but appears to be okay despite the slip.
Yeah, it's going to be wet out, and I think a little bit of Vince Beagle, the linebacker, putting pressure, forced him to throw this before he really wanted to, and his foot never touched it. That looked like a little bit like Jameis Winston and throw late against Notre Dame where he fell down and threw the out route.
How about Florida State and Winston the other night? It looked for a while that Louisville was going to win that game, and somehow Winston ends up throwing for over 400 yards despite the picks, a couple bad interceptions. Here's Goodwin on the pitch, and he's wrapped up by Beagle. No gain.
You know, I think Ralph Friedgen wanted to take a shot there on first down, wanted to throw the ball down the field. Your defense has come out and got 3 straight 3-and-outs, and you get the ball at midfield and you want to take a shot. Problem is, it doesn't work out. You're 2nd and 10, and then you get no gain, and now you're behind the down and distance at 3rd and 10. Very difficult when you take that shot on first down and you don't hit it.
At a 3rd and 9, a 3rd and 15 earlier, now a 3rd down and 10. Friedgen last coached in 2010. He'd been out of coaching for a while, was at Maryland for a decade. 68 years old. 3rd down and 9, low snap. Nova scoops, in trouble, and down he goes at the 44. Derek Landish back there for the Badgers. Well, if you love the kicking game, you've come to the right place. Here comes another punt.
It's going to be one of those games. Defense is ruling so far. Dave Aranda, the defensive coordinator, loves to bring blitz in 3rd and 10 situations. They bring Landish. They bring the outside linebackers. A bad snap. Got to execute in the elements.
Oh, Gleason gets it blocked. A one-handed punt block. And out of bounds. A.J. Jordan got to it for the Badgers. And Wisconsin will start at the Rutgers 20. He got that with one hand. Coming through clean.
Yeah, I think he come right through the middle. You see a little bunch of players there. He's in there somewhere. He just comes right through the A gap between the center and the guard. That was a good looking design there. You bunch all of the guys up, Wisconsin did, over the center, and he comes through and gets a hand on the football. There's a good look at it. You got 2 guys in one gap, and that confuses that offensive line of who to block. And Jordan free to the kicker, and you just get the sense in a game like this, defense and special teams going to play a huge factor.
And now you got Tanner McAvoy in at quarterback. We may see more of the quarterback run game here. They've struggled to run the football so far, and it is McAvoy, but Rutgers all over it. Hamilton and Mara swarm the quarterback. Short gain there for McAvoy, who's a junior. He was a quarterback at South Carolina originally. Didn't work out there, so he transferred to a junior college. Last year played safety for Wisconsin and has made 5 starts at quarterback this year, now coming off the bench.
And he's a rare athlete at the height that he is, 6'5", 220 pounds, with his mobility. And as you mentioned, the question has been, can he consistently throw the ball down the field and hit those targets?
So a 2nd down and 9 here, and McAvoy will throw, and a strike inside the 15-yard line to Arneson, the tight end. A 3rd down, at least this one is manageable. They've been in 3rd and long mostly, but a 3rd down and 4 here. And that game against LSU where he threw for 50 yards. Had he made one more play, they beat LSU week 1. And this is a different year for the Badgers and for the Big Ten in terms of perception with a committee.
You still have in this situation the ability to hand that ball to Melvin Gordon, your best player, and get a 1st down when you're anywhere between 3rd and 5 or less for Wisconsin.
And Gordon picks up the 1st down and more. Inside the 5, touchdown for the nation's leading scorer. The 17th rushing touchdown for Melvin Gordon.
You know, the biggest difference when I was watching tape of Melvin Gordon from last year to this year was his vision and his ability to cut back and find the lanes. And that time was no different. Pushes the ball up into the line of scrimmage, and then he sees people coming from all angles and able to get around in the end zone.
A.J. Jordan with the block punt, and the Badgers end up with 7 points.
They're going to come off this offensive line. It's just a straight zone play. Let it run, guys. Take a look up front. The big guys get a double team, Derek Watt. And then right here, you're going to see a guy come in from the right side of your screen there. That's the vision I'm talking about. 2 guys, 3 guys he makes miss. And that's not something you coach. That's just innate ability. When you see guys coming from left, right, all angles, and you're able to make a miss.
He is spectacular. You know, last year, think about it, he wasn't even starting. He was the number 2 back behind James White, and he still rushed for over 1,600 yards. But that's kind of how it's been at Wisconsin the last several years. Usually a couple guys over 1,000, a third guy around 500 or 600 yards. A lot of people think he's as good as Todd Gurley and Amir Abdullah.
Yeah, I mean, they're all great backs, right? I think they're different styles of backs. You know, Melvin Gordon has that speed, that breakaway long distance speed. He's not the bruiser like you have in Todd Gurley. And Amir Abdullah, he's a nightmare. He's one of the more difficult backs to ever get on the ground.
A very short kick here, and Rutgers will have possession around the 25-yard line. Melvin Gordon, a junior from Kenosha, Wisconsin. Let's give you some perspective, matching him up with some of the greats in terms of rush leader since 1970. Look at his career average, almost 8 yards a pop. Reggie Bush was at 7.3, won the Heisman in 2005. Remember that? Heisman winner Mike Rozier, Nebraska, under 7. Billy Sims, under 7. He won the 78 Heisman Trophy. Barry Sanders, maybe the best ever, 6.8. Now, it's not looking like Melvin Gordon will be in the Heisman conversation unless something happens to Dak Prescott and Mariota.
There's a lot of football left to play.
On first down, it's Peoples. He comes out near the 28.
And if Wisconsin can somehow find a way to run the table, win out, beat Nebraska, get to the Big Ten championship game, and then play Michigan State, and he goes off against Michigan State, and the SEC West cannibalizes itself, why can't Melvin Gordon be in the conversation?
If he can get to 27, 28 touchdowns, 2,000 rushing yards. He's the nation's leading scorer right now, and Wisconsin continues to win. Then he gets to the conversation. The question is, can he win it? He might get invited, but can he win it with the way Prescott and Mariota are going right now? Peoples again picks a hole. Nice job out near the first down marker. Let's check in with Reese.
All right, guys. Team hoping for two-loss chaos is Oklahoma. Sterling Shepard, after making a big catch, was carted off. He has returned to the sideline. No problem with the snap for Trevor Knight against Iowa State. But Knight finds no Cyclones in his path. He goes 36 yards. When we find out something about Shepard, we'll let you know. But the Sooners are up 14 on the road.
Now, Sterling Shepard, just a terrific player. Plays so hard, and he is Oklahoma's offense. On 3rd and short, Rutgers picks it up with true freshman Robert Martin to the 36-yard line.
You see the confidence that this staff for Rutgers has in the young true freshman Robert Martin. Critical 3rd and short there, and he's in the game. They say that he's one of the strongest backs that they have on the team, and in conditions like this, when you have a young back, a true freshman, and you're coaching him, you're Kyle Flood, the first thing you tell him when he goes out on the field is protect the football. You can try to break tackles and be physical, but do not give up the football.
Play fake, and Nova threw it high again, incomplete. Pass was intended for Carew. What do you think so far of Nova? Do you think the knee's bothering him at all?
No, he looks like he's moving around just fine. That ball is just a little bit high. But if that ball is down, Carew has a chance. Let's take a look at him in the pocket. I don't think he's had any issue with that knee. It's hard to throw the ball in the rain. I mean, that throw, I don't know, had as much to do with his knee as it did how wet the football is.
Just amazing he's even playing after being on crutches for 2 days. After the injury Saturday, ends a streak of 6 straight incompletions by finding his tight end Tyler Croft, who's a good player, at 43 catches last year. It's only his 13th grab this year. So a 3rd down and about 2 here for Rutgers. We'll have to snap the football here before time expires in the quarter. The 3-second difference in play and game clocks. 3rd down and 2. Nova trying to set up the screen, and it's a catch and almost a first down, but short is Andre Patton. Initially, it looked like you had a Wisconsin player that had his hands on the ball. Patton had a hold of it, but he is short, and it's 4th down. Rutgers will have a decision to make in between quarters. That was the only action of the first quarter. The block punt by A.J. Jordan, and the touchdown, Melvin Gordon. 7-0 Badgers. Celebrating its 10th year sponsoring the Good Hands Field Goal Nets, Allstate makes contributions to participating universities' general scholarship funds for each field goal and extra point kick. Since 2005, Allstate has contributed $3.6 million in scholarship funds. So Rutgers will punt on 4th down. 7-0 Wisconsin. Melvin Gordon with a 13-yard touchdown run. Otherwise, between the two schools, a combined 54 yards of total offense in that opening quarter. Remember, Wisconsin blocked the punt that set up the Gordon touchdown. They don't get to it here. And a bad kick. And it checks up. So Wisconsin will have very good field position around the 35-yard line. All right, let's bring in now Tom Luginbill down on the field.
Well, guys, we've got inclement weather, no doubt here. So when we talk about throwing the football, a wet football and a cold football, it gets really, really hard. When I say that, the actual ball is physically hard. So one of the ways you want to try and combat being able to control the ball or losing control of it is you're going to squeeze it pretty tightly. And normally when you throw the football, if you look right under here, that's an area where you want to have space. But when it's raining and the ball's wet, you want to really close that off and tighten it so you don't have space under there, and that's going to help you control the football a little bit more. You might be more of a pusher, but you're not necessarily going to lose control of the ball.
Yeah, you palm the ball to get more of your hand in contact with the football.
McAvoy on the run, gets outside, pushed out of bounds. How is it throwing a wet ball, Tom, with a poncho on?
Well, you know, it's pretty good with a cape on, I can tell you that. You know, the other thing, guys, too, is we're watching these backs handle the football. I want to bring up 3 things. When you're carrying a ball here, you want to cup the point of the ball. You just don't want your fingers to be there. You want to cup the point of the ball. You want 3 tension points at the point, at the forearm, and against the rib cage right here to secure that ball so you don't have any turnovers here in horrendous weather.
It's great weather for you, though, Tom.
McAvoy running again and pushing for the first down. Appears to have it at the 45-yard line. Quentin Gauze on the tackle. I have to say, of all the attire that Tom has had over the last year and a half, and whether it's 100 degrees at Texas A&M or 3 degrees in Minnesota, well, this is the best. The white poncho look.
I think it's appropriate for Halloween. You know, it's a Casper the Ghost kind of outfit there.
Hey, listen, guys, they don't let me dress on the sidelines for Halloween. I'm making a petition for next year, because next year Halloween's on Saturday, boys.
A lot of room in this booth, too. Great setup up here.
Is it toasty?
Very warm. Here's Gordon across midfield, and look at Gordon go. My goodness, what a run. He took a shot from Waters, but he bounced off 4 guys to get to the 41.
215 pounds. He's put on muscle in the offseason. Take a listen to him, real speed. There's some hitting going on down there. Rutgers knows they're going to run the football, and Melvin Gordon is up to the task. People say, can he take the pounding like Ron Dane used to do, or like a Gurley can? He certainly showed it there.
And here's a deep throw from McAvoy, and boy, he missed. Wide open Alex Erickson, an easy touchdown as McAvoy misfires.
Well, this has been the biggest challenge for Tanner McAvoy. You're going to see here's Fredrickson's going to go down the field. Erickson's going to be wide open. Play action has the sting when you have a guy like Melvin Gordon in the backfield, and the double move on the outside, and I think that's an arm strength issue there. You saw Tanner McAvoy kind of have to put as much as he possibly can into that throw to get the ball downfield to Erickson, and a missed opportunity.
Second down and 10. McAvoy. And that pass high, intended for Arneson. McAvoy comes in completing less than 60% of his passes and only 100 yards per game. And both McAvoy and Stave have 1 completion apiece so far here in the first half.
Yeah, and you risk now if you're Wisconsin, you know, both of these quarterbacks, they're fragile right now. Their confidence is fragile. Stavi's been on the sideline now for 2 series. You've had McAvoy out there, and you get a little bit of better production ground-wise, but you miss 2 wide-open throws, and you wonder now how confident Tanner McAvoy is on 3rd and 10.
Rutgers coming after him, delayed pressure. McAvoy gets out of there, trying to run for it, but he got tripped up and goes down at the line of scrimmage. Boy, if Jacobs doesn't make that play, McAvoy might get the first down. Instead, it's 4th down.
I agree with Rutgers coming after Tanner McAvoy, but you lose contain. Take a look. They come after him right up the gut, and you're right. Jacobs saves the first down because McAvoy, if he doesn't go down right there, he may get that first down.
And now Drew Meyer, who has not punted yet, they had Bart Houston in there. Meyer going to try to pin Rutgers deep. Janarian Grant is back for the Knights. And a fair catch made just shy of the 10-yard line. Early 2nd quarter. Gary Nova struggling, just 3 of 9 passing, and his team down 7-0. In college football primetime presented by Hampton Hotels tonight at 7 Eastern. One team in the top 4 that was a surprise to many in the first college football playoff rankings, Ole Miss, after the loss at LSU. Return home tonight to face number 3 Auburn. Look at Rutgers' offense so far. Not good. 23 total yards. Trailing 7-0. They did have a punt block that set up a Wisconsin touchdown.
That actually costume is not bad today. Keep you a little dry, you know. The night costume.
Going to run the ball here. Off the left side, Martin. And pushed out of bounds after a gain of about 7 or 8. Fans want a flag for a late hit, but won't get it here. Check in with Reese.
All right, Dave, Taco Bell studio update. Big Ten, Maryland and Penn State. Maryland didn't want to shake hands with Penn State. There have been some pregame festivities. Got a 15-yard unsportsmanlike. C.J. Brown to P.J. Gallo is still decidedly unfriendly, but now the Terrapins without the handshake, but with the lead, up 7-3 on Penn State.
Not sure what that's about, but Maryland a little salty after last week getting blown out in Madison. Here's Martin trying to find a hole. Smothered at the line of scrimmage. 19. True freshman getting a lot of touches here. He hasn't played much the last couple of years. He was out for his senior year of high school ball in Harrisburg because of a torn ACL. He got encouragement from LaShawn McCoy, Philadelphia Eagles from Harrisburg. He tweeted out a little shout out at Robert Martin, and that seemed to lift his spirits.
Well, just to give you a little bit of a background on how tough this kid is, he was a middle linebacker and had over 100 tackles one year when he was in the high school. So you know he's got the nose for the ball in there.
Can he get 1 yard here? Nope. Schobert was there first along with Trotter. Wisconsin able to move Rutgers' offensive line backwards and make the play to force another punt.
Yeah, take a look in the pit here. No push up front from this offensive line. Give credit. You see each of those Wisconsin defensive linemen standing up. Those offensive linemen. When you see offensive linemen standing up, they're losing the battle at the line of scrimmage, and Wisconsin was up to the task.
Tim Gleason getting a workout today. Another punt. Kenzel Doe waits for it at midfield. And the fair catch made on Wisconsin's side of the field at the 48-yard line. Badgers offense on the field, and it'll be Joel Stave at quarterback. And Brian Griese's favorite part of the program, the Affleck trivia question, where we stump him for 5 minutes. 2 of the top 3 career rushers in Wisconsin history are from New Jersey. Now, you better get one of them.
Yeah, well, do you want me to tell you right now?
Tell me who one of them is, because the
reason I love Affleck is because Reese Davis back in the studio and Mark May, they think they get the Affleck question every single week. And last week we stumped both of them, even though Mayday tried to lie and said he got it, but he didn't.
Corey Clement is from New Jersey, and who knows, by the time he leaves Wisconsin, he may be in that conversation. He's around 600 yards this year, had under 600 barely last year. Turns 20 years of age tomorrow, has 41 friends and family members on hand. Stave rolling out, and he's going to run. and heads to the sideline and gets about 8 yards. And when you think about, okay, Ron Dayne, you're right on Ron Dayne. Ron Dayne had 7,125 yards. Melvin Gordon right now is 7th all-time in Wisconsin in rushing, career rushing, great back.
Yeah.
He has half of Ron Dayne's total.
That's amazing. And then that just speaks to how durable Ron Dayne was. But I mean, you got to think Monte Ball is up there, right? And then, you know, the other one, the one that's hard to get, I think, I'm not going to give it away quite yet, but I think it's the 3rd leading rusher.
I don't think you're giving it away. I think all Wisconsin fans at home already know the answer. They're just waiting for you. Clement is loose in the secondary. Stiff arms a defender and scores. Touchdown, Wisconsin. Garif Glashan tried to make the tackle, and Clement said, "Get out of my way." 43-yard rushing score.
And right on cue, right up the gut, the New Jersey boy back home in his home state. It's so hard to stop this rush attack because you got 2 guys. You know, both of them, when they're in the game, can break it at any moment, and that offensive line gives them a little bit of a crack, and they have the speed to take it the distance.
Point after makes it 14-0 Wisconsin.
And a game like this, with the elements the way that they are, the rain coming down, it's going to be all about the ground game. Favor the Badgers. Off to a 14-0 lead early.
ESPN College Football is brought to you by Ford Service. Go with confidence. And Goodyear, chosen by experts for superior performance. Goodyear, more driven.
Now the 2 Wisconsin stars, each with a touchdown. Melvin Gordon and now Corey Clement. And video of the touchdown now posted on the SportsCenter app. A 43-yard run, which included a stiff arm by Clement, his 6th rushing touchdown this year, 13th of his career. As we mentioned, he'll turn 20 years of age tomorrow. He's a sophomore. He was a teammate of Rutgers running back Paul James Glassboro. James, who a very good player for the Scarlet Knights, is out for the year, unfortunately, due to a torn ACL. Rutgers will get it back, down 14-0. And here's Grant. Past the 25-yard line, and Endicott slows him down. That allows Wisconsin to finally get to him, but in Badger territory at the 47-yard line.
Well, what back wouldn't want to run behind this offensive line? Let this roll, guys. Take a look at the middle of your screen. There's going to be a huge hole right here. Nobody. And look at the safety back here. One-on-one with the back that's Aiken. And if you're not able to come up with the right angle, Corey Clement, Melvin Gordon, either one of them is going to make you pay. But they got to give credit to that offensive line. We know that they are the ones that set the pace and set the tone for Wisconsin's entire team. And Corey Clement was the beneficiary.
There was a late penalty flag, and it was against Rutgers for a personal foul. Not sure if it was a dead ball foul because there was no yellow on the field until late, but it obviously happened way downfield, way away from where the tackle took place. They spotted at the 20-yard line. So it happened at the 35 in Rutgers territory. Just when you think the Scarlet Knights get a big play, something they badly needed with just 32 yards of total offense, it's wiped out because of a penalty. $19 rushing yards, 13 passing yards for the Scarlet Knights so far in the first half, and down 14-0. And Nova, his pass is caught by Carew, and he's out of bounds at the 40. Let's go to Reese in the studio.
All right, Dave, Duke is one of the 16 one-loss teams in the Power 5. Not many people paying attention to the Blue Devils. Pitt had a 21-14 lead. Jamison Crowder hauls it in from Anthony Boone. Crowder's already over 100 yards receiving. A shootout. Pittsburgh tied at 21.
Here it's 14-0 Reese. Badgers in command after a slow start offensively. They've been able to run the football. But this game changed on a punt block by A.J. Jordan for Wisconsin. It led to a Melvin Gordon 13-yard rushing touchdown. Here's Goodwin, and he gets nothing. Michael Caputo, a very good player. Safety, plays down in the box a lot. He made the hit. Minimal gain.
Well, he's the unquestioned leader of this defense for Wisconsin. Very physical player. Here he is, lined up almost at linebacker depth. They are not concerned about the passing game, but you see he feels just like a linebacker in the hole, and there's no blocker accounted for him. When you bring a safety up at that level and that depth, there's nobody assigned to him in the blocking scheme, and you got to be able to throw the football when he's in the box.
He's in there again. Seam number 7. This will be a pass. Nova slipped a little bit. Now gets his footing and throws an interception to Marcus Trotter. And Trotter takes it back inside the 35.
Nova just trying to get that football to a basic cross route behind Trotter, and Trotter was just, it looked like, here he is right here, he's just going to drop back, and Gary Nova is trying to get the football over him. I think he sees him, the ball just comes out flat. I mean, it's sometimes that happens. You try to throw the ball with a little bit of arc and it comes out flat, and that was an easy interception for Trotter. And you look at Gary Nova in the pocket there, he just doesn't look comfortable. I don't know if it's the knee is giving him issues, but he just doesn't look comfortable in the pocket.
And was he shaken up there on that last play too? At the end of the play, you saw him go to the ground and dumping it off, and it's incomplete as Gordon had to go through his hands. He has improved as a receiver, according to the coaches, even though he has just 8 catches this year. They didn't throw to him a lot last year.
Well, remember the things that his coaching staff wanted him to improve on the offseason was catching the football, number 1, and then pass protection. 2 things that as an NFL every down back you have to do, and you have to be dependable in doing those things, and he's come in this year and improved both.
But had a drop there. 2nd down and 10. They have Derek Watt, JJ's younger brother. JJ, a great player at Wisconsin, now maybe the best player in the NFL at any position. Big hole for Gordon, and he keeps those feet moving. Able to avoid bodies on the ground and pick up 9 yards. Quentin Goss finally got him down. And we mentioned Derek Watt. He was leading out there for his tailback.
I think they're going to bring in big personnel here, 3rd and 1.5 to 2 yards. Expect power. They love to run the power, pull the offside guard in these kinds of situations on short yardage.
Well, think about it. The biggest D lineman for Rutgers is 275. The smallest O lineman for Wisconsin is 311. They should win this battle up front. And they will as Gordon gets the 1st down. Watt again blocking. Steve Longa made the tackle.
And take a look in the pit. This time it was coming off the football there. Costigan, Volts, Havenstein, I mean, all of them. And these are guys, they're not new to this program and this system. This is how they love to play. You see that comparison, 320 average up front against 260, and that's going to take its toll as this game wears on.
Gordon off the edge, nowhere to go. Won't go down though, and finally the whistle blows. We'll see where they spot forward progress. They'll mark it at the 24, so it'll be a 4-yard loss. There were some negative plays on the first series, but maybe Rutgers defense getting worn down. Well, a good play there.
I think what happens is you come out, if you're Rutgers on the defensive side, and you play great in the first 3 series. You force 3 and outs from Wisconsin's offense, but you get no support from your offense. And that's Joe Rossi, the defensive coordinator, says, look, man, I need a little help from my offense here.
Yeah. And then the special teams play was a killer, too. You give up a block punt. Wisconsin gets possession in the red zone. Gordon off the right side. Nowhere to go again for Gordon. Gauze and a handful of other Scarlet Knights are in there to make the hit. Looks like they'll mark him at the 25 for a 1-yard loss. So it's a critical 3rd down here for Rutgers. They have to force a field goal attempt.
Oh, this is where in the down and distance in the red zone area where Rutgers would benefit from coming after the quarterback. You have two quarterbacks, whether it's McAvoy or whether it's Stavy. It's going to be Stavy in this instance that are not real confident throwing the football. Why not come after him? Maybe you force a turnover.
And they do have 24 sacks on the year. That's second in the Big Ten. Stavy in trouble, steps up, and a man comes free, and it's a first down catch. Troy Fumagalli with his 7th reception of the season. Good play by Stavy.
Great play. Watch the movement in the pocket. He gets a rusher in his lap. Just shuffle your feet, reset, get your shoulders set downfield, and deliver the football. That was an excellent play by Joel Stavy. You don't need to panic and give up on the play itself and the route downfield. Just shift in the pocket.
And now it's a first down and goal. About to take a 21-0 lead here late in the second quarter. Gordon between the tackles gets a couple down to the 5-yard line. But that play by Stavy, you know, just amazing when you think about where he was at the beginning of the year. A guy that was struggling even to throw the ball, dealing with the lack of confidence and the quarterback battle that was going on between him and McAvoy. That play he made right there,
yep.
That's a play he's made in the past. This is a guy that's won 15 out of 21 starts. And he's won some big games for them. He's made those types of plays before. We had the bowl game last year against South Carolina where he made a lot of plays.
He made a ton of plays. In the Rose Bowl game, he made a ton of plays 2 years ago. I mean, this is a kid that knows how to play football.
Play fake, Stavy on the move, and incompletion. Big hit as the pass was behind Erickson. He's been tagged a couple times here, and he's slow to get up again. Glashan and Stevenson were closing in for Rutgers on the receiver.
Well, I think just to finish kind of on Joel Stavy, you're just going to continue to see some good and some bad. I mean, it's not going to come back and it's all going to be there, you know, good, perfect on every single play. You still see some decisions that you question. Even in the Northwestern game, he threw a couple of interceptions in the second half of that game. But with each play like that, third down play he makes, he gets more and more confidence.
Another huge third down for Rutgers. Third and goal for Wisconsin. Stavy will throw, in trouble, and down he goes. Finally, Rutgers able to get him to the ground. Darius Hamilton was the first man there for the Scarlet Knights. The Badgers will have to settle for a field goal truck.
Trying to get the ball to Sam Arneson, the tight end. He's right up here at the top. He's going to run a little double move and in and out, and it's just great coverage by Rutgers. There's nowhere to go with the football. You see there, that's Snyder, the linebacker, with a great job reading the double move.
And so true freshman Rafael Gaglianone will try the 32-yard field goal. I was going to have you pronounce that, but had mercy on you. And he puts it through. He's now 8 of 11 on the season. And Wisconsin leads it 17-0.
Rafael.
Now that Mayday and Reese have had time to...
They're not watching.
Two of the top 3 career rushers in Wisconsin history are from New Jersey. You got
Anthony
one right.
Davis, right? Ron Dane and Anthony Davis.
Yeah. Good job. Well done.
That's the first one I've gotten all year.
That's our Aflac trivia question. Here are the numbers we talked about. The ridiculous numbers for Ron Dane. Won the Heisman Trophy, and then Anthony Davis had a solid career. And they were good prior to Ron Dane's arrival. They did have a Rose Bowl win in the early 90s, but Ron Dane really put them on the map under Barry Alvarez as a perennial power again in the Big Ten and nationally. He won 2 Rose Bowls. Alvarez now the athletic director and part of the college football playoff selection committee. Had a busy week with the first rankings coming out. Going to be a touchback to the 25. Let's check in with Reese.
All right, Dave, we are closing in on the Lexus halftime report. They call it Happy Valley, but there were some people unhappy enough not to shake hands. We'll show you what's going on Penn State and Maryland. Look ahead to Auburn and Ole Miss tonight, and a milestone headgear for Lee Corso. Plus, Lou Holtz says you've never seen him. Greasy, I'm always watching. Always watching.
He just didn't have the answer.
Yeah, he just didn't have the answer.
Just passed right over it.
That one I think Reese would have got. I mean, Reese can't go 2 weeks in a row without being able to get the answer.
So first down for Rutgers on its 25 with Wisconsin up 17-0. Play action for Nova. Got a defender in his face. He gets driven to the ground as he throws it away. Vince Beagle was all over Nova, who is shaken up on the play. It's that right knee that he hurt last week in the loss to Nebraska late in the first half.
Yeah, this is the first bootleg we've seen all game, and probably the reason why is because of the limited mobility, and Beagle comes down hard on that knee again. But Gary Nova's a tough customer. That's a big part of this offense for Ralph Friedgen, is that movement game, and when you have a quarterback that's limited, it makes it difficult.
Peoples on second down, and there's no running room. Loses a yard. 3rd and long.
No, Grace, you're exactly right. I think so much of a Ralph Friedgen coached offense is misdirection. They're a heavy zone, heavy wide zone, zone G team, and so much of the action that comes off of that is the bootlegs and the nakeds and the ability to use misdirection to create some intermediate throws in the passing game. And when you don't have that mobility, you don't have this type of offensive package that Ralph Friedgen wants to have, so you're relegated to trying to run the football and then everything else coming from within the pocket. And if they don't have that mobility, that's where Chris Laviano may come into play, because he was able to make some plays with his legs a week ago in Nebraska in relief duty when Gary Nova went down. And now to get back onto the field in this offensive scheme, if they want the full scheme from the passing game standpoint, which includes out of the pocket throws, they might be forced to make a change here at halftime.
Well, you know, Nova is a guy that's won some big games and had big games. He threw for over 400 yards, 3 touchdowns against Michigan. He comes in leading the Big Ten in passing yards and yards per attempt, but he's not healthy and can't run the offense the way they need him to. Down 17-0, maybe you have nothing to lose.
From what I've seen, he's got enough mobility to run the offense. It's just this is a pretty good defense they're going against, probably the best defense they've faced all year, and they're having a hard time doing anything. Throwing the ball, running the ball. And I don't know that making a change at quarterback is going to make any difference with the way that this offense is performing against a very good Wisconsin D.
Wisconsin called a timeout, try to preserve clock, get another set for the offense. Screen pass by Nova, tipped and nearly intercepted by a diving Joe Schobert. And so it will be another punt for Rutgers, and Wisconsin will have a lot of time left and 1 timeout remaining when it gets the ball back. Thought it was interesting too, you know, Vince Beagle made that hit on Gary Nova. Vince Beagle is coached, his particular position is coached by the head coach Gary Anderson. Not all the outside linebackers, but just that one particular side of the field.
What a shank.
Wow, Wisconsin will have it in Rutgers territory, and the spot will be at the 43 of the Scarlet Knights. Later today, high-scoring quarterbacks square off in the Big 12. Trevon Boykin and TCU against Clint Trickett and the Mountaineers. Number 7 TCU, number 20 West Virginia. 3:30 Eastern, 12:30 Pacific on ABC or ESPN2. That's later today.
You know, to finish up on that point about Gary Anderson coaching Vince Beagle, you know, that's a unique position. It's more of a rush type end, so there's not really 2 outside linebackers, but Gary Anderson loves to keep involved with his players in those meetings, and I like when head coaches have some kind of game day responsibility for a specific position.
Melvin Gordon on first down. Dropped at the 37 by Goss, a gain of 5. And look, we get to talk to a lot of coaches. This group here at Wisconsin as buttoned up as we've seen, and you know, Gary Anderson, a guy that had a lot of success as an assistant coach. Urban Meyer, and then as a head coach at Utah State. Barry Alvarez brought him here. They won 9 games last year, on pace for at least that this year.
And I really appreciated, you know, talking with him last night about his quarterback situation and Joel Stave and how he's come back, and you could just tell how much Gary Anderson cares for his players.
Gordon trying to break it to the outside, wrapped up and spun down. And that, you know, that point that when he was discussing Stave, is there's an injured Wisconsin player, Eric Steffes, the tight end. He said he felt horrible for the kid. He had never seen anything like it. And you know, Anderson, when that hire was made, when Brett Bielema left, there were a lot of people in Madison that were asking who's Gary Anderson,
right.
but Look, Barry Alvarez, a lot of people ask the same question about Brett Bielema when Barry Alvarez brought him in to be the heir apparent when Alvarez retired to just focus on his athletic department duties. And I don't think there's any question, Brian, this guy's going to win in Madison.
Right. Well, and I think it starts with how much do you care about your players before they care about what you have to say. And that's an old adage that I think coaches have to live by. And for Gary Anderson, when you have a situation like he's had with his quarterbacks, you have to make the tough decision. Otherwise, you lose the locker room. The best players have to play. And it affected one of his players in Joe Stavi. But then you go into father mode almost, and you have to take care of your players. And I think the way that he handled that, everybody in the locker room, everybody in the program, and all the people that love the Wisconsin program, I think got a new respect and understanding as to the kind of coach and the kind of man Gary Anderson really is.
Well, he's put together a good staff. You've got a veteran offensive coordinator in Andy Ludwig and a rising star in Dave Aranda as the defensive coordinator, a young guy who at some point may have a shot to be a head coach. But you know, again, you're talking about breaking it down. You sit in there with Dave Aranda for a half an hour and you learn defense.
Yeah, he loves to talk the X's and O's, and certainly a coach that we'll be talking about for a long time.
Big play for the Wisconsin offense inside 2 minutes to go. 3rd down and 2. They do have that one timeout left. Try to hammer it here with Gordon, and he's got the first down. And it picks up additional yardage by keeping his balance. Stepped out at the 23, a 12-yard gain.
He's got such good length, you know, and he gets that stiff arm out there. Take a look. He gets to the edge and bounces it with that vision, and then he tries to get the stiff arm going. And I've been really impressed. We were impressed with him last year, but seeing him now in person this year, he looks leaner, he looks stronger, his vision has gotten better, and he still has that great stiff arm and speed.
He's got explosive plays throughout his career. 3 runs of 60 yards or more this year. 17 of 20 yards or more coming into today. Now 20 on the season. Stavi to the end zone, incomplete. Fumagalli, the intended receiver. 1:30 on the clock. 2nd down and 10.
Yeah, and that was a good shot there from Joel Stavi. You got to throw that ball back shoulder. Take a look. The tight end's running step for step, and when that happens as a quarterback, you just want to throw it on his back shoulder, and that was close. Could have been a little bit better, but that was a good shot downfield on a 1st down and 10 play that almost turned into a touchdown.
They have plenty of time on the clock. If they want to run the ball here a couple times, they will with Gordon, and that's well defended. Only got a yard. Kenneth Kirksey and Darius Hamilton, the 2 inside defensive linemen on the stop. Again, the Badgers have that one timeout. They're going to bring Clement in here for Gordon for 3rd down and 9.
Yeah, I think with the way they're running this time off the clock, though, I think they're almost conceding that they're not going to get this 1st down and just going to kick a field goal and not give Rutgers a lot of time on the clock.
Stavi gets rid of it, and near the 1st down is Frederick. He'll come up just short. Should be official timeout to measure. It's 4th down. See if Wisconsin goes for it. You would think they'd be able to get a yard. Rutgers calls a timeout. And Stavi a little shaken up.
Yeah, he stood in there. He got blitz man coverage, and he's going to get he's got the pick route to Frederick. I think he came up short there from that angle, and Joel Stavi took a big hit here. Take a look at Snyder, the linebacker that came in. Well, he got a little whiplash in his neck.
Well, he had a broken clavicle back in 2012. Only started 6 games that year.
Oh, he ran, his head hit the other defender. Might have jarred his neck a little bit.
Rutgers called a timeout. The Scarlet Knights want some time back if Wisconsin doesn't pick it up. But that gave the Badgers time to talk about this here, and they get to hold their timeout. But they're going on 4th down and a yard. 7 of 8 on the year, and that's because he had those bigs up front. Good fullback and 2 good tailbacks, and they'll get it easily here with Clement.
Now they need to get up on the line of scrimmage here. They're not going to use their timeout, but they need to get a play called and run it because there's only 35 seconds left, and now the clock is running. I'm not quite sure what Wisconsin's doing right here, huddling up. And if you were going to do this and just kick a field goal, why not get some plays run?
And it took a lot of time getting the substitutions in at wide receiver as well, so they waste about 19 seconds before the snap. And now the audible, so you're at 15 on the clock, and they run the ball. Clement, now they have to call a timeout with 10 seconds left.
But when you have that time on 4th and 1, you know you're going to go for it. You call 2 plays in the huddle. You call the running play to get the first down, and you stay at the line of scrimmage, and you call a pass, throw it in the end zone, at least take a shot. And that was a wasted opportunity for Wisconsin.
Well, now what? You're in a situation where you have 3. Do you trust your quarterback not to get sacked, right? If you get sacked, you're done.
Or force the ball in the end zone. But you got to throw the ball in the end zone because you can't stop the clock tackled in bounds. So you either throw it in the end zone or throw it out of the back of the end zone. But I think they're just going to kick it. I think this is a product of the confidence that they have in their quarterbacks, or lack thereof, that not even take a shot, just kick the field goal.
Especially after going for it on 4th. I agree with you. You go for it on 4th down, you get the first down.
Yeah.
Have a better plan. It didn't seem like they did, as Rafael Gaglianone is on for the short field goal. 5'11", 230-pound kicker from Brazil. And he splits the uprights to make it 20-0 Badgers with 6 seconds remaining in the half. The inaugural college football playoff rankings brought to you by Allstate. Mississippi State #1 hosts Arkansas tonight on ESPN2. Auburn Ole Miss on ESPN. TCU West Virginia, ABC, ESPN2 3:30. Kansas State, Oklahoma State, ABC at 8.
Speaking of confident quarterbacks, where do you think Bo Wallace's head is going to be tonight?
Well, he bounced back this year from struggling last year, and everybody was kind of waiting for that 4th quarter to happen.
Yeah.
It did. Let's see how he responds tonight.
Well, that's the question. I mean, he's played outstanding in some second halves of games, but I wonder after that was an emotional game against LSU, and the way that ended may affect him in this game.
Josh Hicks wrapped up. Still time on the clock. No, actually, our clock stopped. The clock in the stadium did not. So no time left. That's the end of the first half. And how about Wisconsin's defense? Rutgers had 21 of their 26 plays go for 2 yards or less. No question, the Badgers are stout on defense. And they hold Rutgers without a point here in the first half. Only 52 yards of offense for the Scarlet Knights. And here's Tom.
Coach, a struggle a little bit offensively to get into rhythm. You started 2 there in the second quarter, both in the run and the pass game. How would you assess the performance of the offense?
We left some layups out there. That's the bottom line, and we're going to have to play better in the second half. But we've got 20 points on the board, which is great. But got a long ways to go, as we all know.
Pleased with the defense so far?
Yeah, the defense is playing very, very well. Proud of those kids. Got to keep it going. We got to get pressure on the quarterback and cover down the field. So again, long ways to go.
All right, Coach. Thanks.
Well, Melvin Gordon and Corey Clement, terrific backfield duo, each with a touchdown in the first half. And the Badgers are rolling on the road, seeking their 3rd straight win. They lead Rutgers 20-0. Now the Lexus halftime report. Reese, Lou, and Mark. Gleason gets it blocked. A one-handed punt block. Inside the 5. Touchdown for the nation's leading scorer. And scores. Touchdown, Wisconsin. Welcome back to ESPN College Football, presented by Cars.com. Wisconsin looking for its 3rd straight win. The Badgers in command, leading Rutgers at halftime, 8-0. Badgers trying to get to 3-1 in the Big Ten. Alongside Brian Greasy, I'm Dave Pash. Everybody talks about Wisconsin's run game, but let's focus on the defense, Brian. The last 3 games, opponents have a total of 14 points in the first half against that Badger D.
Yeah, and only 52 yards in the first half for Rutgers. This defense under Dave Aranda, their defensive coordinator, has been very aggressive in the first half. They like to move up front and then use their linebackers, Trotter and Landish, to get into those seams. You see the movement by the defensive line up front, and then those guys are filling in the holes. Nowhere to run for Rutgers in the first half. Then you bring down Michael Caputo, their safety, who's really a linebacker and plays at linebacker depth most of the game, and he's been a stopper up the middle. And then you get pressure. Beagle getting pressure on Gary Nova. You know he's not very mobile, and so why not come after him and try to get some hits on the quarterback? Wisconsin's defense, people need to start thinking about this defense as one of the better defenses in the Big Ten, a la Michigan State, quite frankly.
Yeah. Michigan State has more consistent quarterback play, of course. The Spartans number 8 in the initial college football playoff rankings. Michigan State with a big one next week, hosting Ohio State on ABC at night. Janorian Grant will take a knee. It will come out to the 25 for Rutgers. Scarlet Knights trying to get bowl eligible. Don't know if it's going to happen today, especially when you can't pass the football, and that's how they've been winning games with Gary Nova at quarterback. And look at third down, just 2 of 8. And it was scoreless until that block punt that led to the touchdown for Melvin Gordon. And Nova started the game despite being on crutches earlier in the week after a knee injury against Nebraska, and he will start the second half. 4 of 13 passing, though, and an interception that he threw right to Marcus Trotter. They'll run it on first down, and Goodwin dives to the 28, a 3-yard gain. And then, boy, Peniel Jean, I don't know if you're just trying to get rid of a Rutgers player, but there was an official right there, and he swung.
I think this second half is Gary Nova's half. This is his game. It's 2-year captain. He's made 36 starts for Rutgers University, and they're not going to pull Gary Nova if he's healthy enough to play in this game.
Wisconsin stacking the box. Here's a play fake coming around the edge. Nova hit by Beagle. Now a flag down, and then Nova just throws it away. Keith Lumpkin may have been holding Beagle.
May have been.
Giving the benefit of the doubt till the announcement. Referee Sean Smith.
Holding, offense number 74. 10-yard penalty from the previous spot. Replay second down.
I think this was one of those penalties. If Lumpkin doesn't hold him, it's a blindside shot on Gary Nova. I think this, obviously you get beat off the line of scrimmage. Beagle's got that speed, and now you got to protect your quarterback. You'd rather hold him there than allow a free shot, and Rutgers will be 2nd and 15.
Rutgers lost to Ohio State and Nebraska the last 2 weeks, so including this game, they've been outscored by a combined 77 points the last 3 weeks. Nova on the rollout, throws back across the middle for a completion past the 30-yard line to Leonte Carew. Really good player. He hurt himself in warm-ups, but appears to be okay. Played the entire game.
Well, you want to get something positive in this first drive of the second half for Rutgers, and normally you don't want your quarterback to throw back against your body, but get away with it there. Nice throw to Carew. Brings up a manageable 3rd down and 4.
His second catch, he's been targeted 7 times by Nova. So 3rd and 4. Nova's pass high, incomplete. So another punt. It was deflected by Derek Landish.
And again, Wisconsin's defense comes up. They have been solid. I think when you talk about that defense, you can talk about them the same way you kind of talk about Kansas State's defense. They're smart, they're well coached, they're going to be in the right position. They don't have the best athletes in all of college football on the defensive side, but they are sound.
7th punt by Gleason today. And about 4 of them been off the side of his foot.
5 shanks. I mean, you might want to try a different style. Well, that was Roth.
Yeah, that was Joey Roth, the backup punter. He didn't fare any better than Gleason.
Well, back in Piscataway, Rutgers down 20-0 to Wisconsin, and the Wisconsin Badgers offense is predicated upon a power run game. But when you take a look at what they did in the first half, when they tried to run lateral or they tried to run to the perimeter, not a lot of success. When they lined up and kept the game in a phone booth against this Rutgers defensive front 7, that's where you saw Melvin Gordon and Corey Clement gas the Rutgers defense. That's the epitome of the Wisconsin run game offense. That's what they got to do here to maintain possession of the ball, keep this clock rolling.
Here's Melvin Gordon on first down, reversing field. Look out at the 40-yard line, inside the 20, and Gordon will take it all the way. What a run by Melvin Gordon. A 51-yard touchdown run by maybe the best back in college football.
Every time he touches the ball, he could go the distance. And no matter whether you have the play contained on one side of the field, he's got the vision, and then he's got the speed to get to the outside and to reverse field and to finish it off. And that's the difference to me between Melvin Gordon and most backs in college football.
Extra point makes it 27-0. Gordon leads the nation in scoring. He has 2 rushing touchdowns today, giving him 18 rushing scores, 19 touchdowns overall. That was beautiful.
Yeah, and you see Rutgers had it well defended on the play side. It's just when it's all bottled up, he has the vision, and then he has the speed to get to the other end of the field, and nobody's going to catch him in the open field.
Think of all the great backs they've had here at Wisconsin. And Melvin Gordon right up there. And maybe one day when his professional career is over, you'll look back and say he was as good as any.
You know what I like about that there? You know, you used to have that celebration dance with James White last year when they would do. And now James White kind of mentored Melvin Gordon. Now Melvin Gordon's mentoring Clement and bringing him along and celebrating with him, and Clement will do the same thing for the next back that comes in. What Wisconsin has now is, if you're a good back in high school, why wouldn't you want to go play for Wisconsin? You're going to have these offensive linemen, and you got a history now, and each one of those guys sees it as their legacy to help the next guy to come up, and that's pretty cool.
Give it a decade where Wisconsin's had at least one 1,000-yard rusher every year. Here's Grant. And he's across the 25-yard line, tackled at the 32. Tom was talking about this earlier with the rush chart, and here it is. Now, again, that play that went right was designed to go left.
Well, I think that Melvin Gordon overheard Tom down there talking. He said, "Oh, you don't think I can run outside, huh? Well, just bounce this one out, and then I'll run right. You ran right in front of Luke and Bill down on the sideline too."
What a sellout! I tell you what, that play was off tackle to the left side. It was between the hashes.
Hey, I just saw your poncho blowing in the wind as he ran by you.
Yes, he did blow up a gust.
So Rutgers back on offense. Nova in trouble and sacked. This is bad for Rutgers. Wow. Beagle is back there again.
When Wisconsin gets it rolling on the ground and they play defense like this, they are hard to beat. Now, they lost, to Northwestern 14-10, and that was right in the middle of kind of them trying to find their identity on offense with Tanner McAvoy and Joel Stave, and they weren't running the ball quite as well, but they were still playing good defense. So you tell me, they've got probably the biggest test left, Nebraska. If they beat Nebraska, that'll be a great game in the Big Ten championship game against Michigan State.
Good run that time by Peoples. Got a big chunk back. Caputo on the stop. You mentioned Nebraska. That's in Madison in 2 weeks. Wisconsin goes to Purdue next week. They also have to go to Iowa.
Yeah, a tough place to play.
Host Minnesota over Thanksgiving. And then if they were to somehow get through and get to the Big Ten title game, you would think it's going to come down to the winner of that Ohio State-Michigan State game next week.
But you know, college football in the month of November is all about who's playing the best, who's getting better and continuing to get better every single week. And that's what we can say confidently about Wisconsin, is they are continuing to get better every week.
They're going to blitz here on 3rd down and long, and Nova just says, you know what, I think I'm better off not taking a shot. Marcus Trotter got pressured, and guess what? Rutgers will punt.
Well, this is the first time I've seen Gary Nova kind of give up, and I start to wonder about, you know, whether he should continue in this game. I mean, if that's a situation there where if you know you have nowhere to go, you throw the ball away. You don't fall on the ground, and that might be a sign that you may not see Gary Nova next time they get the football.
Chris Laviano, the backup redshirt freshman, came in when Nova got hurt last week against Nebraska.
Hey, no shank.
And everybody cheering. It's the loudest of fans we've got here at Rutgers today. Wisconsin ball when we come back.
They're clapping for him.
ESPN College Football is brought to you by Jockey. Quality crafted to last longer, guaranteed. Jockey, supporting greatness. And Wendy's barbecue pulled pork, served 3 tasty ways.
The annual bonfire and pep rally kicked off homecoming this week. Music and free barbecue for students. But on the field here today, not been a happy homecoming for Rutgers and its fans. They've been shut out by Wisconsin. The Badgers starting to get it going now offensively. And talking with Gary Anderson, the head coach, Andy Ludwig, the offensive coordinator, they both told us they felt their offense is in the best position it's been so far this year. The way they played the last 2 weeks in particular. Last week 52-7 over Maryland. Their defense has been good all year. And the Badgers closing in on win number 6. Still got a half to go, but Melvin Gordon gets maybe a couple that time. Steve Long on the tackle. Now they don't play Michigan. They don't play Ohio State. Don't play Michigan State. Again, that LSU loss stings, not just for them, but for the whole conference. And the quarterback play not good in that or in the Northwestern game.
But that Nebraska game, I mean, think about that head-to-head, Amir Abdullah and Melvin Gordon, and could be for the Western Division of this Big Ten, and certainly the opportunity to go to the Big Ten championship, and that's going to be a great matchup.
On the day, Todd Gurley returns for Georgia.
Yep.
Maybe the 3 best running backs in the country. Out on the flat, the true freshman George rushing, and he is loose down the sideline and steps out of bounds. Wisconsin needs some of these young receivers to step up, and they've got some speed. Rushing is one of those guys.
Well, they had a receiver who stepped up right there. Frederick, number 9, great block to free extra yardage. That's one of the things that Wisconsin, people don't talk a whole lot about. How successful they are running the ball is a lot predicated upon how well they block at the wide receiver position. Going all the way back to Toon, who would block guys on the second level all day long. It's a big reason why they run so well on the second level.
Play fake for Stavi, and wide open down the sideline was Fumagalli, and he might have scored. That's twice now we've seen guys running free for Wisconsin that the quarterback has overthrown.
Yeah, one of the things when a guy's so this wide open, you see he's just running a wheel route, and it's very well designed play from Andy Ludwig, is you just put the ball on him. You know, he's a tight end, he's not a wide receiver, he doesn't run quite as well. When he's that wide open, don't try to lead him, just stick it on his chest. And not every throw has to be perfect if you're Joel Stavi, and that one should have been on the body.
Well, the quarterbacks are combined 5 of 14. You can get away with that against Rutgers. I don't think you'll get away with that against Nebraska. Didn't work against LSU. Here's Gordon off the left side again, a huge hole, and then he just splatters the pile close to the first down. You got Gordon over 100 yards rushing on the day. Clement is halfway there. So Gordon now closing in on 1,300 yards this season, on pace for 2,000. 6 straight games over 100 for Gordon.
But to your point, if I'm Andy Ludwig, I'm going to continue to throw the football, because I'm going to use the second half of this game to continue to try to build up the confidence of Joel Stave for these games that I know are coming later in the year against Nebraska and potentially a Big Ten championship, where I'm going to need him, and I need his confidence to grow.
New set of downs, and back to Gordon. Gained for about 3 or 4. He doesn't go down easily, though. He keeps those feet moving. Doesn't mind contact. Big guy, 215 pounds, tall running back at 6'1".
He looks leaner to me. You know, he's put on weight, but he's put on good weight. He looks leaner and stronger than he was a year ago.
You know, just having a chance to watch DeMarco Murray run this year for the Dallas Cowboys, you see a lot of similarities in the two. Former third-round pick out of Oklahoma, that's the NFL's leading rusher right now for Dallas. How about that? They get Clement in the game with Gordon. They hand it off to Clement. Flag flies in. Clement was lined up wide to the left of the formation, but I think this play's coming back.
I think they're going to get Fumagalli, the tight end, on the outside for holding.
Holding, offense number 48, 10-yard penalty on the spot of the foul, replay second down.
It's hard on a tight end when you're blocking on the perimeter because everybody sees you. The officials, it's wide out in the open. He's right here, and watch him on the outside. He's going to get engaged, and then that arm is outside. As soon as that arm's outside and the defender fights to get outside, and you're in a tough spot. It's one of the hardest blocks in all of football, is to block on the edge when that back has a two-way go, because the defender's going to try to disengage, and you've got your hands locked on him.
So 2nd down and 17 for Wisconsin. Stave going to dump it off to Clement. And he darts forward past the 40. A gain of a handful, so 3rd down and long coming up. David Maluski on the tackle for Rutgers.
Maluski's a good story. He's a 3.9 GPA. He's getting his master's in business now, and he was up for that Maxwell Award, which is the academic Heisman in college football, and recently found out that he was not one of the 15 finalists, and his coach Kyle Flood was not happy. Felt like he should be in New York at the National Football Foundation dinner, but either way, great student, great player.
3rd down and 11 for Wisconsin. Here's pressure. Stave gets rid of it, and a diving catch made by George Rushing. He is short of the 1st down. Wisconsin might go for it on 4th down, though. 4th down and about 3. Nope, they're going to kick it here. Now their true freshman kicker, Rafael Gaglianone, has a big leg. He's made a 51-yarder this year.
From Sao Paulo. It's a long way to Madison from Sao Paulo.
It's a 46-yard try. He is 9 of 12 on the year. And he makes it look easy. Ooh. So it's 30-0, Wisconsin, midway through the 3rd.
Rafael might be building a little legacy here as a true freshman for the Badgers.
Time for our Goodyear superior performance, and what a performance from Duke Johnson of Miami against North Carolina. Duke is loose again, 90 yards, matching the longest run in Hurricane history. He passed Edgerrin James for number 2 on the career rushing list for the Hurricanes. They're up 30-6, and I ask you this, Mr. Miami Brian Griese, who is the Hurricanes' all-time leader in rushing?
Ooh. I'm going to go with Alonzo Highsmith. Although now we don't know the answer.
Is Reese going to respond? Or we just left hanging for the next 5 minutes till we check in with him. What about Clinton Portis?
Yeah. Oh, there's a lot of them.
O.J. Anderson, maybe?
Yeah, Otis Anderson, Melvin Bratton.
Anyway, on to more important things tonight at 7:15 on ESPN2. The #1 team in the country is on. Mississippi State taking on Arkansas. Brett Bielema, the former Wisconsin coach, has not won an SEC game since taking over at Arkansas. They've been close. Does he get it tonight in Starkville? I'm asking you.
Oh, you're asking me? You know, I like Mississippi State. You know, I think that team is the most consistent team in college football right now, and a lot of reason is because of their defense.
Your quarterback for Rutgers is Chris Laviano, redshirt freshman. Replaced Gary Nova last week. This is the fourth game he's played in this year. Got an arm. We saw him warming up on the field before the game. Here's Robert Martin, true freshman running back, who gets about 3.
He looked good in warm-ups. You know, Laviano's a player. He was pretty highly recruited. I mean, Tom would know better than I, but looking at him on the field in warm-ups, he's got a good arm. He's got a good stroke. He's got good feet. He transfers his weight. He's got good size at 6'3", 210 pounds. Just a redshirt freshman, and he's here locally from New York. And what he brings to the game is now they can move the pocket with some of the nakeds that Ralph Friedgen really likes to employ in his offense.
Laviano on second down, and good throw.
There it is.
Catch made by Patton for a first down.
No, guys, Chris Laviano is a little bit of a steal for Rutgers, because had he been in another region of the country, let's just say he'd been down in Georgia or in Texas or California, he would have been much more highly recruited just from a foot traffic standpoint. So this was a steal for Rutgers. You see the arm power and the talent to drive the ball out on the wide side of the field on the out route. He can really do the things you want to do in the passing game. In Greece, like you said, now you can move the pocket because he's a much better athlete than he gets credit for.
Laviano in trouble here. The 3 Badgers chasing him. And then Laviano throws it away. There was a receiver in the area. He did well to avoid Zagzebski, Beagle, and others. So it's second down and 10. Now Laviano, they were hoping for more out of him in the spring, that he would give Gary Nova a run for his money as the starting quarterback. But Laviano in the spring game went 0 for 9 with an interception.
Yeah.
It was then that they knew Nova had to be the starter.
Well, you know, in talking with Kyle Flood, they knew pretty early on that Nova deserved to be the starter. He won it in the spring. You remember last year, Nova was put on the bench by Kyle Flood at the end of that year, but Nova responded and not only earned the job, but became a 2-time captain. And as we see a false start penalty for Rutgers, but
5-yard penalty.
Kyle Flood needs to find the quarterback of the future too, and it seems like Laviano's the guy that's going to get that first shot. You've had Gary Nova for, it seems like, 10 years at Rutgers, and next year is going to be the first year without him in quite some time. So he needs to get a little bit more understanding as to what his quarterback situation is going to be come next spring with Chris Laviano.
Well, this has always been an intriguing program. Greg Schiano got it to a point where it was a top 10 team there, when they had some talent on both sides of the ball that went on to the NFL. Kyle Flood was an assistant on a couple of those teams as Laviano gets hit right as he releases the ball by Vince Beagle to bring up third down and long. But Rutgers, now that it's in the Big Ten, it's hoping that it will provide the boost in recruiting for the Scarlet Knights, for them to take that next step as a program. They did win the Big East a couple years ago. Went to the Pinstripe Bowl, played Notre Dame, been to 2 bowl games under Kyle Flood. But can they take that next step and be a challenger to win 9 or 10 games? Not with what we're seeing today, and not with what they have at the quarterback position. At a timeout here by Wisconsin. So 2 timeouts left for the Badgers. 30-0 they lead. Well, coming up tonight, ESPN College Football Primetime presented by Hampton Hotels. Number 3 versus number 4, Auburn and Ole Miss. How about Auburn's road schedule? At Kansas State, at Mississippi State, at Ole Miss, at Alabama.
Yeah, that's. But
I might be missing one too.
Did you say Kansas State earlier in the year?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that is, but that's life in the SEC West, that's for sure.
They got Georgia in a couple weeks. I think that's at Georgia too, on the 15th. 3rd down and 15. Laviano rolling left, and that one in the dirt. 4th down.
Boy, if I'm Chris Laviano, it's not just about throwing the football and operating the offense. It's also how you command the huddle. And on that last series, he didn't have a chance with some of the offensive line play up front. Keith Lumpkin's getting beat on every single snap by Vince Beagle. I'd go straight to Lumpkin, and I'd establish myself as a quarterback and say, look, man, I'm out here trying to do my job. Why don't you try doing yours too?
And again, a big cheer with the big punt from those that have stayed here at High Point Solution Stadium. All right, here are the SEC West games on the schedule. Just games involving SEC West teams. We mentioned Auburn is at Alabama.
Yeah, the Alabama LSU game next week, and then the Iron Bowl and the Egg Bowl obviously at the end. But you have to anticipate a certain amount of cannibalizing happening there. Obviously, Auburn, Ole Miss will be out tonight of the top 4 ranking positions, and the one that Alabama has every opportunity to jump back in, and there's so much football left to be played.
Georgia, by the way, is at Auburn as Gordon is loose, brought down to the 38-yard line.
Grease, I agree with you. There's so much football left to be played, but the thing to note about the first rankings of the college football playoff, as we see a flag down as well as an injured Rutgers Scarlet Knight, is when you look at the 4 SEC teams within the top 6, and then you look, as we've got a personal foul call on number 70 offensively here.
Good job, Luz. Keep going.
For Wisconsin. You want me to do some more for you, Dave?
Keep going. This is good. You already laid it out. You did the play-by-play.
Well, hey, listen, I'm just going to help you out. I'm going to go right with the flow here. So you take a look at Alabama, Ole Miss, Mississippi State, Auburn, and then you look at the rest of the teams that are in contention, whether it's a Baylor or a TCU, whether it's a Michigan State, a Florida State, Oregon. But none of them have to play any of the teams that are already slated in the top 4 slots, unless you're an Alabama or a Mississippi State or an Ole Miss. So think of those games that still have to be played before you ever even get to a conference championship game. And I think that, when it's all said and done, is going to be the greatest argument for whether or not a second SEC team gets in, because of Baylor or an Oregon or a TCU or a Florida State. They don't have games like that remaining on the schedule.
Well, let me ask you this question, Tom and Brian. Okay, both you guys, I think both of you, did not have Florida State in your top 4 this week.
Correct.
Okay, so obviously the committee disagrees. Is that because you feel that they're not one of the best 4 teams, and that maybe the committee thinks because they won the national championship and they're undefeated this year that they're most deserving?
I think they are not one of the best 4 teams right now, and that doesn't. I don't look at last year. I don't look at what happened or even the players they had last year. Nor do I only look at the record. I'm trying to find the best 4 teams, and the way that they've played against Notre Dame, last week against Louisville, in my mind, they are not one of the top 4 teams in the country.
By the way, just to clean it up again, we were correct the first time. The Auburn-Georgia game is at Georgia. So again, just another tough road game for Auburn.
But I think when you look at it, you could have a 1-loss SEC team that does not go to their conference championship that ends up getting into the top 4. And if Mississippi State loses, let's say, to Alabama, and then Alabama goes to the conference championship game, you're going to have a 1-loss Mississippi State team that has lost to one of the best teams in the country, and they're going to be right there in that conversation.
Grace, I agree with you on Florida State. I think you got to go off of what you've seen now, how they look, where there's some deficiencies. When you're looking at every team, not just Florida State, but there's an assumption off of a Heisman Trophy a year ago, a national title, and the fact that they're undefeated. Where I'll give Florida State credit is the bullseye gets bigger and bigger every week, and they've answered the toll when they've been challenged. But I think the real question at the end, when it all comes down to it, who does the College Football Playoff Committee answer to? Do they answer to powers that be, or do they answer to college football? Because if you're going to have a 1-loss Big Ten champ or a 1-loss Big 12 champ, and there's talk of a second SEC team getting in there, who's picking up that phone call?
Here's Chaffee picking off a pass. So turnover by McAvoy, and that will give Rutgers the ball in Wisconsin territory. Just to finish up on that conversation, I don't think there's any way the SEC does not get 2 teams in, and probably 2 teams from the SEC West, and that unless a team like Georgia wins the SEC championship. The SEC is too good. The SEC West is too good for them not to put 2 teams in, unless you get to a point where you've got 2 and 3 losses.
Well, I don't agree with that, but I mean, you know, there's because you're going to have Oregon, right? Potentially, you're going to Florida State. Who's Florida State going to lose to? So you already took one spot with Florida State, whether you like it or not. And Michigan State, if they win out, I mean, I don't know. I don't think that's set in stone for sure.
Well, that's 2 though, and you have the other 2 spots as Goodwin is dumped after minimal gain by Trotter.
You're going to have an SEC champion,
right?
Who's going to be in, right? Potentially, you could have Pac-12, Big Ten, and Florida State would fill the other 3. Now it's going to be hard, right? So that certainly could happen if Oregon and Michigan State win out. It'd be hard to keep them out, and then you already have FSU and the SEC champions. So there is a scenario where you do not have 2 SEC teams.
2nd down and 10 for Rutgers after the turnover as we near the 2-minute mark here in the 3rd quarter. Laviano gets rid of it, and again in the dirt. Let's take a look at some remaining schedules of some of the teams that.
Yeah, we didn't talk about Notre Dame.
Right. Look at Notre Dame's schedule. I mean, if they were to win out, their only loss at Florida State in a controversial call at the end of the game. And we're asking a lot. We're asking Notre Dame to beat.
Yeah, I mean, look, this is all conjecture, right? I mean, it's all conjecture, but this is part of what's fun about college football now is that you're comparing these kinds of teams. And you know, Michigan State, if they go all the way through and their only loss is on the road to Oregon, I mean, the committee, I know this, the committee is going to look at that and say, we're going to give you credit for that. And I don't know that keeps them out.
Laviano takes a hit from Beagle, lost the ball, but he was out of bounds.
You know, in finishing my comments, I was heading down the same path Brian was there in terms of at the end of the day when this entire thing was created with commissioners and ADs and everybody putting together an opportunity for the Power 5 to have a chance and to compete for a championship and settle it on the field. If you're going to have one-loss teams that are going to be out there that are going to be champions of a Power 5 conference, there's going to be a lot of pressure on that committee to put those teams in there over a second team that either doesn't play for a conference championship or did but didn't win the championship in the SEC. And down the line, that's where we're going to find out just how much this committee can withstand public scrutiny and public pressure.
All right, we've got a timeout here with Rutgers lining up to go for it on 4th and 2. So let's check in with Reese Davis in the studio.
All right, Dave, we'll let you know what else is going on. Penn State and Maryland are playing on ESPN2, and Christian Hackenberg just threw a touchdown pass to extend Penn State's lead. Maybe the best game of the day is on ESPNU. Best game of the early window, I should say. Duke has just taken the lead against Pittsburgh. Devon Edwards returned to kickoff 99 yards, his 3rd career kickoff return for a touchdown early in the 4th quarter. 38-31 Blue Devils there, and good job, Pash. The answer earlier to Miami's all-time leading rusher, O.J. Anderson.
Are you going to take credit for here's where integrity comes in. Are you going to take credit for that?
Let me call the 4th down play. Incomplete. All right. Well, I did say Clinton Portis first, so Reese, I don't know if Reese caught that or not. And then the truck said, O.J. Anderson, O.J. Anderson. So we'll give it to our producer, Brian Ryder.
There you go. Thank you for, who knows where he got it from. Yeah.
Although Ryder is telling us he's a man of integrity as well. He's telling us he got it from Bristol. So it started.
Maybe it came from Reese.
Yeah. The important thing is we got it correct.
First of all, none of you guys would make the college football playoff committee because you keep talking integrity. You ain't got any of it.
Hey,
you bunch of clowns.
You're just mad because we keep busting on you down there in your poncho.
I like that.
It is 30-0. Wisconsin ball. And they're going to pound it here with Clement. Past the 45 for about 8 yards. Gordon with 128 yards. Clement now over 60 yards on the day. Clement from Glassboro, New Jersey. He's got 41 friends and family members here. His parents, LaTanya and Steven, in attendance. He'll turn 20 years old tomorrow, sophomore.
You know, while we were having that conversation in the last drive for Wisconsin, Tanner McAvoy threw a pretty poor interception, and again he's on the sideline, and Joel Stavy back in the game. So kind of what we talked about with Andy Ludwig, throwing the ball, trying to find out who's going to be his quarterback.
Clement, and he's wrapped up. Good job there by Stevenson. Well, you look at the numbers. McAvoy 1 of 4 with a pick. Stabby 6 of 13, 71 yards. 77 total passing yards on the day.
Yeah. And it doesn't need to be. When I think about production for a Wisconsin quarterback, I don't think about the numbers. I don't care if he's got 100 yards or 300 yards. What I care about is efficiency. So when you have that opportunity, because you know you're going to have play action be the main part of what you do, when you have that opportunity to make that play down the field off of play action, do you make it or not?
Interception didn't hurt Wisconsin. The Badgers lead it 30-0 after 3 at Rutgers. At Camp Randall Stadium, there's a tradition that right before the 4th quarter they play jump around. The Badger fans go crazy, and they brought it here to Rutgers. There are a lot of Badger fans that live in the New York metropolitan area.
Either that or they're just trying to stay warm, which is probably what they're doing in Camp Randall too.
Temperature in the low 40s today. I believe it's actually stopped raining. Rained for most of this game today. Wisconsin in command, leading 30-0 as Stabby throws complete to Krenwick Sanders. Again, Wisconsin has a lot of young talent at wide receiver. They're trying to find some guys that can make explosive plays. And Sanders from Georgia, 6'1", 200-pound true freshman.
Yeah, and they've got 2 other true freshmen in Natrell Jamerson and George Rushing as well. That you know, that's what Wisconsin has been lacking. We were talking with Gary Anderson last night about that, and he said, you know, we haven't had a scholarship wide receiver that's really contributed here in quite some time, and we need some of these young players to take the pressure off our running game.
There's Clement inside the 40-yard line, brought down by Gauze.
He said that it hasn't been since Nick Toon that they've had a scholarship player that's contributed on a regular basis to their offense, which is amazing when you think about it. Jared Aberderis kind of was a walk-on, obviously, and so they need some of these younger players, and they've gone to the state of Florida to find the speed and the size to really complement what has become the MO is running the football behind a big offensive line.
And when they had guys like Nick Toon, they also had, you know, big play tight ends that were receivers. They really don't have that right now either. 2nd down and 3. And Clement runs through an arm tackle, gets the first down.
No, Gary Anderson and his staff, once they arrived in Madison, they realized we have got to upgrade our range, our team speed, our athleticism. So they cast a wider net, and they've had a lot of success in the state of Florida. We talked about Jamerson, a true freshman, out of the state of Florida. George Rushing caught a pass earlier out of the state of Florida, and then we just saw Krenwick Sanders. But when you look at this wide receiving core as a group, and we had Wisconsin 3 years last year, they're already more athletic and speedy on the perimeter than they were at any time last year. What they've got to do is get settled at quarterback to be able to disperse the football and make some explosive plays.
Play fake for Stabby on 1st down. And looking deep. And the pass is caught. There were 2 Badgers in the area. It's Gordon that comes up with it. And Gordon's shaken up. Arneson, the tight end, was also in the area. Hopefully Gordon's all right.
Yeah,
I think Arneson landed on his leg.
I don't think that Arneson was supposed to be in the vicinity here. I think he may have been running the wrong route, and they wanted to throw the throwback wheel route to Gordon. See here, the ball comes down, and
Arneson lands maybe on his left
leg. It looked like Arneson's helmet may have hit his knee. He holds his left knee there. If you go back and take a look one more time, watch Arneson's helmet. Does it come down and hit his knee? Or it was his shoulder? Shoulder and his head there, and it looked like his knee got bent back a little bit. But you're right, those 2 guys should never be in the same vicinity as Melvin Gordon gets up and walks off the field. And I think Arneson was out of position. He said, look, man, hey, sorry about that. You know.
What a day for Melvin Gordon. 2 touchdowns, 128 yards. His yards per carry will drop a little bit with only 6.7 today. The replay booth is looking to make sure that Gordon made the catch. We talked about him improving as a receiver this year. And I think you're right, Grease. I think it was the helmet that hit that knee. It does look like he held onto the ball, Gordon, and it should be a catch.
But again, you see up 30-0 in the fourth quarter.
You know, he rolled over and the ball was on the ground, though. You got to complete the catch all the way down. Let's see, when he rolls over, the ball looks like it's moving. It definitely hits the ground.
Yeah.
When do they say he had possession?
Yeah. Well, you got to control that ball to the ground. And again, the ruling on the field was a catch. I don't really think Wisconsin cares about the ruling on the field. They care about that guy, number 25.
They're looking at that left knee.
Hopefully it was just a bruise with that helmet coming down right on top of that knee. Yep.
Still got his helmet on, so I'll have a conversation with Gary Anderson. And you know, he was hurt earlier in the year. Hip was banged up.
You see how much Gary Anderson cares for his players right there, right? I mean, obviously, it's the best player on the team there, and you have some concern about his health, but just I can't say enough about Gary Anderson, how much he cares for his players.
Anderson is his second year now at Wisconsin after 4 years at Utah State as the head coach.
Following review, the ruling of a completed pass has been reversed. The receiver did not maintain possession while going to the ground. Therefore, we have an incomplete pass. The ball will be second down and 10. The ball will be placed on the 36-yard line. Second down.
You'll see it looks like he has possession, but when he rolls over, the ball comes out. You got to possess it all the way, not only to the ground, but till the play's over.
And I think that's a good call. I mean, that ball definitely comes out there. You see it.
I think he was worried about his knee more than he was about hanging onto the ball. But Gordon's got his helmet on and ready to go back in if he's called upon. Standing by the offensive coaching staff.
Yeah, if I'm Gary Anderson, I'm going to call it a day for Melvin Gordon. Go get a little ice on that knee and let Clement and some of these younger backs finish this game out.
2 minutes into the fourth quarter, it is 30-0 Wisconsin. Badgers looking to go to 3-1 and for the moment tie Nebraska and Minnesota atop the Big Ten West standings. Wisconsin plays both of those teams in Madison. Big hole for Clement. Goodbye. Touchdown Badgers. Corey's family are about an hour and a half away. 36-yard run by Corey Clement. He's over 100 yards today. 2 touchdowns for him, 2 for Gordon, and it's a blowout.
You see the explosion of Corey Clement. He gets through that seam on the power in the A-gaps, and he gets the second level. He's gone.
Rafael Gaglianone puts it through. 37-0.
You're saying his name a lot.
I enjoy saying his name. Gonna enjoy saying this guy's name for the next couple years. What a great back. Corey Clement, 2 touchdowns.
Go inside the headset, brought to you by AT&T. An Inside Paul Chris headset is give the ball to James Conner 34 times, 233 yards. That's a career high. This latest touchdown drive for Pittsburgh against Duke ate up more than half of the fourth quarter. Tie at 38 on ESPNU, under 5 to play.
Oh, it's good to see that Mayday finally taught those backs up there at Pitt how to hold on to the football.
Well, here it's 37-0. The backs here have been pretty good. Gordon and Clement combining for 4 rushing touchdowns and 234 yards. Meanwhile, Rutgers has 6 completions and 9 punts. Short kickoff taken at the 20-yard line. And a big hit at the 32-yard line. Sam Bergen caught it and then ran over a Badger. Now Gordon with 128 rushing yards and 2 scores. Clement with 106 and 2 scores. It's rare you see that somebody has a better yards per carry number that's higher than Gordon, but Clement at 10.6 today.
Well, that's the thing too, that when you start comparing Melvin Gordon and Amir Abdullah, Amir Abdullah gets all the carries for Nebraska, whereas Gordon splits, for the benefit of the team with Corey Clement. So it's kind of hard to compare their numbers side by side.
Got an injury at the 27-yard line. And then you throw Gurley in there and compare all three.
But
yeah.
So Gurley's numbers are going to be skewed because of obviously the suspension.
Can't see the number there. Hard to see him anyway, but especially when on the ground. But it's Hicks for Rutgers. He's getting helped up. 37-0 Wisconsin. Rutgers offense back on the field. Over the last 3 games, at Ohio State, at Nebraska, and home against Wisconsin, outscored by almost 100 points. They're going to drop to 5-4 and 1-4 in the Big Ten after today. Laviano's pass is deflected and incomplete. Trying to hit his tight end, Arcidiacono. All right, the Big Ten West standings. We mentioned Wisconsin controls its own destiny in this sense. The Badgers beat all the teams on their remaining schedule, including Nebraska and Minnesota, at Madison. And they would play in the Big Ten championship game. They still have to go to Iowa. They have Purdue next week on the road. Their one loss in conference was against Northwestern. Another rough season for the Illini.
And they played Minnesota right at the end. Yeah.
Yep.
So
in Madison.
All 3 of those teams control their own destiny.
Almost an interception that time on a bad throw, as DJ Sperling almost picked it off.
And you could look at it and say, well, whoever has the best quarterback in the West. In the West would have the best chance to win. But Wisconsin's, I think it's safe to say we still have question marks about the quarterback position for Wisconsin. That's really the only question mark you have about this team at this point. But you still have question marks at Nebraska about their quarterback, Tommy Armstrong, or Minnesota for that matter, Leitner. So it'll be interesting to see how this plays out.
Another incompletion. It's 4th down, and here will come another punt.
With the Big Ten, whether it's Michigan State, you talk Nebraska, Greece, and Wisconsin now with their quarterback issues, and even Ohio State, who's got to go on the road to Michigan State. At the end of the day, it's going to be interesting to see if conferences can overcome perception. If the record can overcome how the rest of the conference is viewed, because that's really what it comes down to. And Dave, you mentioned earlier in the broadcast, that loss for Wisconsin to LSU was not only impactful for the Badgers, it was impactful for the Big Ten.
And you have Ohio State losing to Virginia Tech. That hurts not only the Buckeyes, but hurts the entire conference as Doe makes the fair catch around the 25.
That one hurts worse than the LSU game, right? Because Virginia Tech is not very good.
ESPN College Football is presented by Cars.com. All drive, no drama. And in part by Toyota. Let's go places.
Melvin Gordon and Corey Clement combining for over 250 rushing yards and 230 rushing yards and 4 touchdowns. Meanwhile, Wisconsin, so good defensively, has stopped the run. And you can say, well, wait, Rutgers has been behind. They've been throwing, right? No. 21 run plays, 24 pass plays. So they've actually been pretty balanced. So Wisconsin's did a great job stuffing the run. Badgers have actually had some negative plays running the ball. Rutgers got up to a great start defensively, but they've been unable to stop Wisconsin since. Case in point, as they get 7 with Clement off the left side.
Yeah, I think if you're gonna play against this big front, I mean 320-pound average up front, you got to really want to. You got to want to go up against these big guys. For if you're Rutgers on the defensive front, I think they came out and they came out with the right strategy. The first 3 drives, they went 3 and out, forced 3 and outs, but then when your offense does nothing, absolutely nothing, then you start to lose kind of that fight and say, do we have any chance in this game? And once that happens, if any crack of that happens, this big offensive line is just going to mow you down.
That block punt by A.J. Jordan for Wisconsin to set up the first score. was a big momentum shift. Clement again, and he's close to the first down at the 30-yard line. Well, Tyler Merritt's 21st career start. You've got Llewellyn and Volts, Costigan 29th straight, Havenstein 36th consecutive start. Every year there's a stud in this group that ends up going to the National Football League and being a high draft pick, and the next guy might be Havenstein on the right side, 6'8", 333.
And his bread and butter is run blocking, coming off the ball. We've seen a lot of great tackles from Wisconsin that were also great pass protectors, Joe Thomas and company. But Havenstein, if he's going to be that kind of player, he's got to work on that pass protection.
Penalty flag comes in. Had a lot of inside offensive linemen drafted as well. Frederick and Cons. And it started, when Paul Christ was the offense coordinator here.
Offense number 73. 10-yard penalty for the previous slide. Replay, first down.
It's on Llewellyn, but it started Paul Christ, who's now the head coach at Pitt. And he was the offensive coordinator and was a part of recruiting some of these offensive linemen. And talking with this coaching staff, they think some of the backups, some of the young guys that Wisconsin has right now are very good. They've got a true freshman in Michael Dieter, 6'5", 320-pound center out of Ohio that they're high on.
They don't recruit offensive linemen, they select them. That's a big difference.
Clement. Oh, great vision and balance. Wow. Terrific run by Clement. I don't care who that's against. That's impressive.
He's got that mix of power and elusiveness. Take a look from behind here.
He's put together too. 5'11", 220.
It's hard to see him back there too with all those big guys, and he's not like Gordon, who's 6'1", 6'2", who's easy to see. Clement gets lost behind those 6'6", 6'8" offensive linemen.
The key is the quarterback play. Can Stavi regain some of the confidence and the success that he had in previous years? Clement, another good gain on first down. Can they get consistent quarterback play, protecting the football and getting some big plays through the air to give some balance to their offense? Because they've got the defense, they've got a good young kicker, and Rafael Gaglianoni, and then if they can get some explosive plays out of the pass game, then they can be a real threat in the Big Ten. Third and 4 for Wisconsin as we close in on 9 minutes to go. Second true road game for Wisconsin this year, the last at Northwestern early October. Through the hands of the intended receiver George Rushing, incomplete, is deflected Kevin Snyder, and it's fourth down.
And if on the other side, if you're Kyle Flood, this has been a rude introduction to the Big Ten Conference. I mean, they've played some difficult games. You go back to Ohio State, and then you come back and you play. Well, you played Penn State at the beginning of the year, then Ohio State, then Nebraska. Both of those games on the road, and now you have Wisconsin, and then you finish on the road against Michigan State and at Maryland, which would be difficult for them to get bowl eligible if they don't beat Indiana in 2 weeks.
It'll be Rutgers ball when we come back. Midway through the fourth quarter, all Wisconsin.
Reese Davis with you in the studio on ESPNU to win the game for Pittsburgh against Duke. The unfortunately named Chris Blewett. Going to overtime. Very good kicker normally. Couldn't get the 26-yarder, so they'll play free football on the U, tied at 38.
Oh, I can only imagine the banging on the table from Mayday in the studio after that kick.
Is it me, or have we had more short field goals missed by college kickers this year that have been more meaningful? Rutgers running on 1st and 10 and a gain of about 4 yards. The Scarlet Knights, in a long time since they've been shut out at home, go back to 2002. Greasy was in his 4th year in the NFL, and it was a loss to West Virginia 40-0. Am I right? Year 4?
You are correct.
Redshirt freshman quarterback Chris Laviano, 1 of 9 passing today in relief of Gary Nova, who was 5 of 15. That was kind of awkward there. He handed it off with the right hand. And Robert Martin, true freshman, gets a couple.
This has not been your game if you're a fan of quarterback play. That's
no.
for sure.
Here's the schedule that Rutgers has remaining as the Scarlet Knights try to get to bowl eligible. They've been to bowl games the last 2 years. You mentioned that Indiana game becomes a must win because you're at Michigan State. You're not going to win that one. Maybe you can get Maryland at the end of the year. Things look really promising at the beginning of the season with a Washington State win. They felt they should have won the Penn State game, and then they did beat Michigan.
In Indiana, and Tevin Coleman, I mean, with the way that Wisconsin has run the football, I mean, you tell me how Rutgers defensively is going to be able to stop Tevin Coleman.
No, I don't see it. Coleman is the only player other than Abdullah and Gordon to he's got more rushing yards than both those guys this year. So this will be, I think, punt number 11. I lost track midway through the third. Roth booting it to Kenzel Doe. And Wisconsin will have it around the 30.
Well, we were talking about that big O-line on that last drive. Here's Havenstein. Take a look, 6'8", 330. He gets a lot of his guys on the ground. Pancake blocks. Guys rush around the edge, gets them on the ground. Take a look at this one. He just throws defenders back. I mean, that's... Boy, and then, you know, he comes off on the sideline. He's still working. This was after the last drive in the middle of the 4th quarter, trying to get another guy ready, constantly working.
Well, you said he looked like he was doing some left tackle pass sets, and guess what? He's going into left tackle.
Yeah, yeah.
Tanner McAvoy is in the game. And then the backup running back, Agun Bawali, is out to the 37-yard line for about 6 yards.
Yeah, you know, I think at the end of games, you want to get your offensive linemen, you want to cross-train them with different positions. So if your left tackle gets hurt, that you don't have to bring a guy off the bench maybe at that important position. You have Havenstein move over from right tackle to secure the backside of your quarterback. And in the 4th quarter, TJ Woods, the O-line coach for Wisconsin, is kind of cross-training Havenstein, so he takes him from right to left to get a few reps.
Ray Ball, a junior from Columbus, 6'7", 324, is in at left guard. So you get 6'8", 330 at left tackle, 6'7", 330 at left guard. And they get a first down. 6.5 remaining. Wisconsin will improve to 6-2, 3-1 in conference play. You know, fans watching sometimes may think, well, that's easy. You just go from one tackle spot to the other tackle spot, but obviously it's very different.
Yeah, no, and then they took their left guard, Dallas Llewellyn, they put him at right tackle. So he's getting some cross training. You see he's number 73. He's at right tackle now. And Volz is still at center. They brought in Ray Ball. And so they're just trying to get these guys reps in different positions.
Ogunbowale out to the 47-yard line. Later today, TCU West Virginia, 3:30 Eastern ABC or ESPN2. TCU number 7 in the first college football playoff rankings. West Virginia number 20. We had the Mountaineers, you and I, in Atlanta against Alabama week 1. It was first game of the year. West Virginia coming off an 8-loss season, and we walked away saying, you know, that's a team that's going to make some noise in the Big 12. Don't know if we thought they'd make this much noise. Well, what do you think about this game?
You know, I think the thing about West Virginia is they're getting better every week. Last week they beat Oklahoma State on the road by 24. They only gave up 17 points to Baylor, or 21 points, I'm sorry, to Baylor in a win there at home. So their defense, everybody talks about the offense, and they're great. They've got all kinds of weapons with Smallwood and Kevin White and Mario Alford, and Clint Trickett's pulling the trigger. But defensively, how will they match up against that TCU offense? Drayvon Henry last week had 2 picks against Oklahoma State. Daryl Worley, who he was suspended in the middle of the year, he's their shutdown corner. I think they're going to play well against TCU, and I think at home they win.
Well, you've got Kevin White, one of the best receivers in the country, probably number 2 behind Amari Cooper. 3rd and 7 here for the Badgers. McAvoy, the quarterback. And Rutgers able to force a punt. 4th down. Tom?
You know, it wouldn't surprise me one bit if TCU went up there and really struggled and did lose to West Virginia. But I will say, going into the matchup, I think if you polled a lot of coaches around college football right now and said, who do you not want to play? A lot of them would tell you TCU, because if you go to this point in the season, there may not be a hotter football team in all of the land. And when it does come to defensive pressure, I think that's going to be the key for West Virginia on defense, because Trevon Boykin has been off the charts when it comes to handling 5- and 6-man pressures and forcing people into backing off after a while, because he burns them every time they pressure him. So I think that's going to be the key to the game. It's a great matchup. I actually had TCU in my top 4 coming into this week.
Do you think TCU wins today?
I'm going to go with TCU, but I think it's going to be really close.
4th down.
A delay game penalty. They were trying to decide whether to punt or not.
You know, they don't
change punters too. Meyer coming in for Houston.
You know, Luke, the only question, they don't know if Doxson, the wide receiver for TCU, is going to play in that game, and which would be a big hit.
Well, there's a chance, Brian, that I could have severe brain freeze and not know what I'm talking about.
It's very possible. You've been in the cold and in the rain for the last 3 hours. That almost hit an official. Check in with Reese in the studio.
All right, guys, we'll let you know what's going on. Duke and Pittsburgh, they went to overtime, tied at 38. Duke had the ball first, ran this play twice in a row. Anthony Boone goes in to give David Cutcliffe's team the lead. Remember, Blue Devils, the only team in the ACC Coastal with 1 conference loss. But James Connors had a day, over 260 yards. 14 of them threw every Blue Devil short of Christian Leitner to tie the game at 45. We go to double overtime.
Wow. What a great game. Oh. Meanwhile, here it's 37-0. 3.5 to go, and let's see if Rutgers keeps throwing the football. Now they're going to hand it off to Robert Martin. He gets 8 yards. Well, it'll be Laurel Hill's first and perhaps final college basketball game. This is Sunday on SportsCenter. Lauren's mission is only beginning. Tom Rinaldi shares her inspiring message and a moving story of triumph in the midst of tragedy. One more game, a new SportsCenter featured, premiering Sunday at 11 Eastern. Get your Kleenex. It's Rinaldi, and it's a great story. 11 Eastern Sunday on ESPN. Meanwhile, an injured Badger at the 30-yard line. Marcus Trotter, we're being told, is the man shaken up for Wisconsin with 3:25 to go. It's actually not Marcus Trotter.
Michael Trotter.
Yeah, Michael.
Yeah, I think that's a.
Yeah, Trotter brothers from Racine, Wisconsin. Michael plays on special teams and is a backup to Marcus.
You know, Marcus Trotter has really brought a lot of juice to this defense, and both he and Warren Herring are back, and Trotter obviously concerned about his brother, but that's one thing we were talking with Dave Aranda, the defensive coordinator, last night about, is he's got a lot of guys on this defense that are, as he called them, studious. They're smart, and they don't get really riled up. But the 2 guys that really bring the juice to the defense are Marcus Trotter and Warren Herring. And Dave Aranda says we need that. We need those kind of guys that bring that energy level up when we get on the football field.
Martin appears to have the first down. I'll give it to him. I think, you know, you talk about young coordinators to keep an eye on for head coaching positions. I think, you know, we mentioned this in the first half, but I think it deserves mention again. Dave Aranda, very sharp guy, and you know, if Wisconsin keeps winning, it's only going to enhance the chances that he gets a shot.
He's very pensive, isn't he? I mean, he's constantly thinking. Even in our meetings, you know, he's thinking about adjustments and changes and schematics. He loves the X's and O's of the game, like most coaches, but he seems to really live in that moment quite more often than others.
Pass is caught and pushed out of bounds is Andre Patton. near the first down marker. Come up just short. Now again, Wisconsin has Purdue next week, and then 2 weeks from today at home against Nebraska. And then we'll get a real sense of how far these quarterbacks have come along and whether this 2-quarterback system is going to work and just how good they are defensively.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, when you look at Nebraska, I would feel very confident if I was Dave Aranda. I had this defense going up against Nebraska right now, because Nebraska, it's one-dimensional with Amir Abdullah. And if you take Amir Abdullah out of the equation, where is Nebraska going to get the production?
Can they do that? And nobody's been able to do that. Can they shut him down and force Tommy Armstrong to beat him?
Michigan State was the only team. I mean, and Abdullah got his production, but ultimately Michigan State won the game. And I think this defense for Wisconsin beginning to get to a point now where they can be considered in that conversation.
Final 90 seconds here. Only 112 yards of total offense for Rutgers. Maviano going to throw it deep. Nobody home. Incomplete. Let's take a look at the Big Ten East standings. Michigan State, Ohio State is next week in East Lansing on ABC at 8 Eastern. Ohio State is at home tonight, 8 Eastern ABC against Illinois. As we mentioned, Rutgers losing at a fall to 1-4. Penn State is losing and could fall to 1-4.
This is a two-horse race here. I mean, that game has everything to do.
Penn State just took the lead, by the way, against Maryland.
Maryland, yeah.
Good.
That's I think it's a two-horse race, and in that game, really coming down to the quarterbacks, and Connor Cook, is continuing to grow as a quarterback in that system. They're playing with confidence. They are not going to back down, and be a great game. It'll be a great game, and everybody's talking about Ohio State. Yeah. And they didn't look like the same Ohio State last week against Penn State, and some could argue they should have lost that game, but they'll be ready for Michigan State.
And JT Barrett, can he get back healthy, battling that knee injury that he suffered in the Penn State game late. Again, they have Illinois tonight at home and Michigan State off. Final minute here at Rutgers, as the Scarlet Knights about to be shut out for the first time in 12 years. Hold on. They get a first down, so maybe now they'll throw the ball with the clock stopped as they reset the chains. But for Wisconsin, the defense continues to prove itself. Obviously, we know about the backs. You hope, as a Badger fan, if you're a Badger fan, that Melvin Gordon's okay. After holding his left knee, appeared to be, got his helmet back on when they looked at him on the training table, went right back towards the offensive coaches. Dave Aranda was upset last week when Wisconsin blew a chance of shutting out Maryland, but he'll be happy this week as they complete the shutout and beat Rutgers 37-0. 2 touchdowns for Clement, 2 for Gordon, as Wisconsin rolls and is 6-2, 3-1 for now, tied with Nebraska and Minnesota atop the Big Ten West standings. And here's Todd.
Coach, you chose to coach one linebacker in the offseason, and that linebacker, Vince Biegel, had a great day today, as did your defense. What do you have to say about this group?
Well, first of all, Vinny overcame his coaching today, which was great to see. Fantastic job by the defense. They swarmed all day long. They did exactly what they had to do to, get the shutout there at the end. It's nice to see the young kids get in there and able to, keep the goose egg on the scoreboard. But those kids were prepared again this week, and the staff did a tremendous job. It's fun to watch.
What do you say to your offensive football team? Again, consistency on the ground, but some inconsistencies through the air. How do you create that balance on offense?
Well, we hit a couple of them last week, and we missed some. Well, we've called them layups all year, so maybe I should change the name and see where it goes. But we'll keep working on it. Those kids want to make those plays, and the receivers and the tight ends want to catch it, and the quarterbacks want to get them to them. So we'll keep grinding away at it. But again, the offense was effective, made some plays on special teams. So all 3 phases affect the game in a positive way.
First shutout for Rutgers in 12 years, Coach. Congratulations.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
And Wisconsin bowl eligible for the 13th straight year. That's the longest active streak in the conference. Melvin Gordon rushed for 128 yards and 2 scores. Corey Clement 132 yards and 2 scores. 37-0. Wisconsin rolls Rutgers. College football scoreboard presented by Honda's coming up.